Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, scapers of all ages, welcome to Runefest.
Hey there. How's it going?
Here we go.
God.
Okay, Trey, I think we need some help here. ChatGPT, we need a help. We need a help writing an intro to this podcast. It's a RuneScape podcast called The Wilderness Podcast. And I was wondering, we had Runefest happen just a couple days ago. Can you give me like a really spicy intro I could say for the podcast? And maybe say it from the perspective of Trey. You know, he's a very, what would we say, sweaty Iron Man.
Absolutely. Here's a spicy intro you can use. Hey everyone, welcome to the Wilderness Podcast. It's your boy Trey here, straight from the chaos of Runefest. If you thought the wilderness was intense, you should have seen the crowd at Runefest. Absolute madness. So grab your best gear, buckle up, and get ready for an episode packed with all the latest from the world of old school RuneScape. Let's dive in and see what the wilderness has in store for us today. How's that? Feel free to tweak it to match your style.
ChatGPT, that was actually really good. Could you tell us what was your favorite thing about Runefest this year?
I'm glad you liked it. Since I wasn't there, I didn't experience Runefest myself, but I heard it was packed with amazing events, updates, and community interactions. What's your favorite part of Runefest this year?
No, we're not going to do this. What do you think it smelled like?
I imagine it had that exciting mix of energy and enthusiasm, with a hint of fresh air from all the fellow players and fans gathering around.
This is
Doubt
such
that.
bullshit. Yeah, it's such bullshit. Okay, one more time. If you had to describe the smell using like a vegetable, what vegetable do you think you would use?
I'd say it might have a fresh, earthy smell, kind of like a crisp, just harvested cucumber. It's cool, refreshing, and full of life.
Okay, that's enough. Listen, that has no friggin' clue what the hell RuneScape is.
You need to turn the negativity filter on.
It's episode 258. We have Runefest to talk about. So we have a lot of fun things for Runefest to dive into. We're going to talk about all the things they announced, I guess. It was the first Runefest in a really long time. So it is actually quite exciting. It kind of got replaced during COVID with these winter and summer summits, but Runefest is back. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into all things Runefest, Trey, am I speaking out of turn if I say, I think you have something you need to get off your chest? We need to do a little bit of podcast therapy.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Trey here. I had a pretty rough week as far as RuneScape's concerned.
Just getting your ass kicked, eh?
I hit drop rate for the enhanced crystal weapon seed at Corrupted Gauntlet, and I spiraled into a pit of blackness from that.
That's not good. And you know what's crazy is like to get. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna help. Sometimes I do this. My wife will like start saying something, like she'll be venting and trying to get something off her chest, and then I think I'm helping her, but I end up like making things really worse. So I hope I'm not doing that. But by going the drop rate, it's a 60% chance of getting the drop. Isn't that crazy?
I'll take your word for it. I guess I don't understand why that would be, but
I could be wrong, but someone told me, and I think they were like super into stats. They're a statistician, so I believed them.
That was a lot of what we talked about with me and GZ Space and Winter Split on our recent episode, the efficiency one, about how most of efficiency is just taking what smarter people say without questioning it, and just trusting it as gospel. Been there.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Just another podcast spreading misinformation. It's fine. No big
Dude,
deal.
This one time, a long time ago, when I was like early on in the podcast, I used to say it all the time because I was super confident on it, but it's wrong. But I was really confident that this was true. I thought the glory, a glory teleport, I thought you could use that even if you were teleblocked. So I used to say all the time, bring a glory with you if you're in the wilderness, because even if you get teleblocked, you can still teleport out with a glory.
You got blood on your hands.
Man, I remember someone like was pissed. They wrote me a very nasty comment somewhere. But I think what I was getting confused about was the fact that you could teleport up to level 30, which is not a unique thing to glories, but to some teleports. So I think that's what I was getting confused on. So anyways, yeah, we've spreading false informations. It's like kind of on brand,
Yeah,
People come to expect it. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, so I hit drop rate and everything kind of came crashing down mentally. I had I won't say a mental breakdown, but it was one of those things, and people, probably relate in more than just RuneScape, where you realize how much you've been like putting at stake for some kind of, milestone or event or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, kind of I can't really say like in retrospect, like I've completely over all of this. I still haven't gotten the drop. I'm nearing, I'm like 417 or so KC. So I haven't gone super hard on it since. It's just hard. But a lot of what I realized, kind of looking back on it a little bit, a lot of it was just a lot less about the actual content and about more of like what other people would think about certain so I guess a big part of it was the idea that I was so upset about not getting the drop by drop rate. And in the Iron Man community, that's just, it's almost expected, right? That you're going to go dry on a enhanced. It's just kind of part of the journey, people, say. And I was super upset at the idea that I wasn't allowed to be upset about it because that's just expected. And
right.
Somebody's complaining about not getting it enhanced by 400 KC. Okay, did you not know what you're getting into? And all these kind of, things that were swirling around about basically I felt invalidated in the way I felt. Cause 400 KC of a boss and I still feel super stressed out when I do it. And I still feel like I'm barely getting the KC and I'm not good at it and stuff. And that kind of insecurity, I guess, about it and not being able to say, wow, I'm not enjoying this, when it feels like the community is just going to laugh at you for that because everybody else decided to go through it. One of my best friends in this clan is kind of notorious because he went 1,300 KC before he got his enhanced. And it's, so what, I'm going to go complain to him that I'm at 400. And so I guess, yeah, I felt super I realized I'd been building up a lot of pent up emotions about I feel super just stressed out and sad about this and upset. And I don't feel like I am validated in complaining about it or even, saying I'm upset about going dry because pretty much everybody else, it seems like, has gone super dry there. And, CG is kind of a unique thing because one of my other friends in the clan, he got spooned his enhanced at 150 KC or something, but he had to go to 650 still because he needed all of his armor seeds. And so it's almost impossible to just be one and done at CG. But yeah, so
maybe if I could just pause you real quick, we can back up. What is the relevance of the Bofa grind? Because you're going through this, but I feel like you haven't felt this way about other grinds, which surely, the Moons grind we've talked about. It might have been off air. I can't remember now, but you've talked about talked about the Moons grind and how you went quite dry there. So what's the relevance to a Bofa grind and why this is affecting you, I guess, differently? For maybe somebody who's no idea what Corrupted Gauntlet even is.
Yeah. So there's two kind of answers. There's two kind of things about what makes CG different. So So yeah, the kind of more what you're asking, the BOFA from the enhanced crystal weapon C, the BOFA is extremely powerful, and the reason that it's so popular and so useful is that it has extremely high accuracy, and what that allows you to do is it allows you to use range at a lot of bosses that weren't intended to have range, and two of the biggest ones, and the reason why the BOFA is so good, are Zulra and Phantom Muspa. And those are both bosses that have different phases that you're meant to use different attack styles on. But because the BOFA is so accurate, you can do BOFA only. And, you can, so Zulra, you have a phase where you're supposed to range it and you have a phase where you're supposed to mage it. But because the BOFA is so accurate, you can just keep ranging it even during the mage phase and you do incredible DPS. And it's actually better overall because not only are you able to just keep ranging it, and that's better DPS than most magic weapons, but also you get, like around 6 extra inventory spots for food and supplies so that you can make your trips even longer. So then, on a longer scale, that gets even better and better. And that's for those type of bosses. And then also it's incredible in raiding. It's incredible against Ulm. It's incredible in TOA. So it's known as this bottleneck of content. And the other reason it's a bottleneck of content is because you can do it with no gear. And so, that's one of the most common, like, Iron Man progression routes is going straight for your BOFA, even when you have like 75 in your stats, because you don't need gear. And you can get this incredible item, and you'll get through that grind, assuming, you go past drop rate, you're probably going to be getting 10 to 15 levels in all of your combat skills on that grind as well. So, it's this thing that's, if you know enough about the game, which if you're playing an Iron Man, you probably do, that you kind of have to get it, which just piles on to that stress. Because the other side of it, you're asking about why CG feels different, is because it is so stressful. To me, at least, it's a 7.5 minute window for prep to get your supplies and stuff, because you go in there with just the shirt on your back, and you can't lose very much time, and you have to be very efficient with the way you're gathering supplies. And then you go into this super hard boss fight, and any of the mistakes that you made during prep are gonna be shown there. If you didn't get enough for your level of armor, if you didn't get enough to have a good enough weapon, if you didn't get enough food to bring in there with you, you're going to go 7.5 minutes of prep and then 5 minutes of a boss fight just to run out of food at the end and die. So it's, that's kind of why the stress just builds up, because you feel like you have to do it. And then the content itself is very difficult.
Iron Man definitely speak about Gauntlet in a way that makes it feel like, well, you're going to get there and then you have to do it, which is, it puts a lot of pressure, and like, it's kind of the reason why it took me so long to get into this Iron Man. Cause I made this Iron Man way back in like 2017, 2018, but it's just like, there's always been content that you're like, oh, and you have to do this if you want to do all the fun stuff. And usually that, like, I don't like Gauntlet at all. I hate Gauntlet. Which, by the way, I don't think I'll do the Gauntlet grind as you're speaking about. I got my Eclipse Moons, and that's I'm hoping that's gonna hold me through getting the Gauntlet, because I just don't like doing the Gauntlet grind. I don't like Gauntlet to begin with, and it is such a long grind that I think it's gonna make me not happy. But these things have like always existed, because this thing only came into the game in like, I don't know, 2020, 2021. But before that, like, people spoke about the Dragon Warhammer grind the same way, because there was all this pressure of like, oh, you want to raid? You want to do some bossing? Then you're going to need the Dragon Warhammer. And part of it was because the BGS wasn't as good as it used to be. The Elder Maul didn't have a defense reduction spec. And I think just the weapons and gear we had, we didn't really have anything that, like, we didn't have gear that allowed you to not have to worry as much about defense reduction. Like, the Fang is super accurate. and like the blowpipe used to be really. And the thing is, as well as the blowpipe used to be really good, so that Dragon Warhammer allowed you to blowpipe everything. But those things like made me like, oh, like I want to play an Iron Man, but I really don't want to get to that point in the game where I feel like I have to do this thing because it doesn't sound fun. Trey, I see you. No. I see you and I hear you. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, if when I was filling out my application for becoming an Iron Man, if there was a question on there of like, what's the one thing you don't want to go dry on, it would be this. Like, I know there's other grinds that I would take going dry on any other grind besides this one. And I know there's a lot of people who would point out things. It's like, people who have done those other grinds, and one of my kind of rants to one of my friends, I said I would trade in my Spoon Ranger boots. I'd trade in my Spoon, my 1 KC Araxite thing. I'd trade in even my imbued heart that I got spooned on. And he was like, people go 80 mil dry for that, right? Like, that is like hours wise, that's such a longer grind. And I think that's definitely true. And he's probably right. Like, if I had to do both, I would probably come back from it saying I would, prefer to go dry on a Bofa than an imbued heart. But there's that part that's just like, yeah, but an imbued heart, you're doing Slayer. Slayer is my favorite skill. And also like, you're getting it from like blood velds and stuff. Like, I like to play this game very relaxed. And most of the content in the game, like even I was doing some Zulrah this morning, and the nice thing about that is, it's a chill boss, but also every 2 minutes the boss is dead and you have a minute to breathe, and if you got to pee or if you need to let the dogs in. But like, CG is usually around 10 to 12 minutes, and that's a big commitment just to be going back and forth. And the second you click on enter Corrupted Gauntlet, you click on that portal, you cannot be distracted for those 10 to 12 minutes. You have to be on your game for prep, and then you have to be on your game for the Hunless fight. And wife calls you on the way home from work, that kind of stuff. Even raiding, you have multiple rooms where you kill the boss, and if you're with a group, you're like, hey guys, I need to go pee real quick before we go into this next room. But there is nothing like that in Gauntlet. It is just 12 minutes of focus. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm ADHD enough that focusing for 12 minutes is a personal hell.
It is tough though. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not a big fan of Corrupted Gauntlet. I was just about to say, I think maybe people just don't really like Gauntlet that much, but the rewards are so good. But anyways, I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, and that is the silver lining that's always true that everybody talks about with Corrupted Gauntlet. While we're recording this podcast, I'm doing Mahogany Homes, just to every alchable item that I've gotten from Corrupted Gauntlet is going into construction because you get so much GP there. It's like, I feel like I'm getting 300k chests almost every time. And that's not, from an Iron Man perspective, that's just alchables, and not to mention the gems I'm getting. Like, yeah, it is kind of like Wintertodt is considered like the way to set your beginner account up. Corrupted Gauntlet is the way to set up your mid-game account for the end game. You get so many supplies there, and the stuff you don't get there, you'll get on the Bofa with your Bofa because, for example, like Corrupted Gauntlet doesn't give a lot of herblore supplies and like seeds and stuff, which would be really nice for me right now. But when I take my Bofa to Zulrah, I will get a bunch of herblore supplies and seeds. So it'll just open up the end game for me. And yeah, the drier I go, the more money I'm going to get. But I'd rather not. But here we are.
Yeah, it's it should be fun. Well, this is the advertisement to all those people that are like, oh, they've been talking a lot about irons lately. Like, I don't get what the hype is. Well, this is like the anti Iron Man advertisement. Is like when you start going dry, it can feel brutal. Because
if I was even worse,
if you were to get Spoon the pet. Because then,
I know.
You complain about it, and people go like, didn't you get the pet though? And you'd be like, I don't fucking want the pet. I'll trade this pet in for a goddamn, whatever.
If I get the pet at like 600 KC, I'll probably throw my keyboard. Yeah, and that's to be expected. That is, that's another Iron Man meme is like everybody has a Hunlift pet because it is always kind of feels like something that always happens.
Yeah. Well, I guess the silver lining is like, and I think Runefest really, I don't know if it really highlights it, but it highlights it a little bit. But there's like, we're getting to a place where it seems like we're gonna have we're gonna have options. We're the game's already felt that way. Where like all the grinds that used to daunt me previously, there's like ways around it. I don't have to do it anymore if I don't want it. If I don't want to, if I don't want to do, I can't think of anything right now. If I don't want to do the Dragon Warhammer grind, maybe I just go ahead and send lots of Chambers of Zarek and hope for an Elder Maul or God Wars or something. So anyways, all I'm trying to say, maybe you'll get to a place one day where the Bofo won't be as necessarily, but you know how it's going to work. You're going to have it by then. So I think I'm making things worse again.
Yeah, and I think one maybe a more relevant example to both of our accounts. I really didn't enjoy Barrows, and so I went to Moons because that was kind of they're kind of two halves of the same coin as far as mid game armor. And yeah, it's cool. There is definitely a lot of applications for Barrows armor still, but most of those, mostly like let's say Arams, that's that 1% magic damage that you don't get to upgrade until you get either Virtus or Ancestral. So it was like either there's Arams, Blue Moon, or Bloodbark. And so if you want a 1% magic damage magic set, I got to choose to go to Moons.
Mm-hmm.
But, as far as I think that's great for everybody else when it comes to CG, that there might be options out of it. But to reiterate a message that I sent to you, it's personal now. I'm going to get this drop. And even if this is my villain arc, I will get this drop. And yeah, I can't let Hunlift beat me.
All right. Well, we look forward to hearing how this journey goes.
Yes, and if next time we record, I don't have the drop, I'm going to say I'm at CG. I don't have the drop, and we can move on. I don't have to give the same rant every time we record.
Unless you got a spicy one, chambered.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what? No problem. We have a lot of fun things to talk about this episode. We had Runefest that just dropped on us. So why don't we head over and talk about all the goodies they announced at Runefest? All right, we're back. And gosh, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Runefest. So I kind of introed it at the beginning, but Runefest was this festival. It's like a festival of nerds they did every year where it was just a giant party. It was a giant RuneScape event, really, is what it was. And they would have different like shows and different keynotes, and they would do all of their like not giant milestones, the giant like announcements of updates that were going to come out for the next year. They had a lot of cool stuff, and they would do, before mobile came out, they had like MOBA Alpha you could test out there. They have like a gaming room. They even have like a bar where you want to go get dickered, drinks there. So it always seemed like a really good time, but then they stopped doing it because of COVID. Like everything just shut down. And for a while, it seemed like Runefest was gone indefinitely because we had these summits instead, which were just these virtual announcements for the updates, they were fine, but it wasn't Runefest. Trey, were you ever like a big watcher or follower of Runefest before?
I mean, the last one was 2019, right?
I think so, somewhere around then.
So not really, because I feel like I'm probably in a big group of people that got really heavy and back into RuneScape in 2020 during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So no, I didn't follow it super closely.
Yeah, fair enough. And what are your thoughts on Runefest? Like, does it seem like something you would want to like? Would you have gone this year if you could?
Yeah. If you'd paid for me to go, I'd love to.
It was funny. I asked my wife beforehand, like, because it originally was announced in like October, I think. So I asked my wife, like, if we can swing it, can I go to this? And she was like, yes, you can. But we could not figure out a way to do it financially. So we just, it didn't happen. But I got the okay from her, which was more than I expected. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
It would be so hard to justify the cost of going to Europe and being inside a convention hall the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things over there. And it's like, we're going to Europe, and people are like, oh, did you see this and this? And like, no, this is there for a video game. So I would feel like I would have
to the UK, and you have to be like, well, it stinks. I'll be honest. It stunk really bad. But then again, I was stuck in this conference hall.
It smelled like cucumbers.
There we go. Yeah. ChatGPT.
I think I didn't even realize until like this morning, because I started watching the live stream. I think both you and I were on the same page of, we were like, oh yeah, let's watch this and we're going to see all this stuff live and it's going to be cool. And then it was like a 5.5 hour live stream. And it was like, oh no. And so, I had like a birthday party to go to, and I was sitting there because I don't, bunch of people I didn't know, classic situation. And I was just seeing on Discord all these announcements coming in. And then I didn't realize until this morning that they were treating this like as one of their summits where they're going to be announcing all of this, like their roadmap and stuff. I thought it would just be, here's the special Runefest announcement. And then they'd have a specified summit for that. So I was blown away by how many, different, updates they're revealing. But I think, one of the other big things about these events, and something that's very exciting, is like at least all of the like European content creators are there. So it'll be cool to see all of their different content from there, and they're all hanging out and drinking together and stuff. So, if you're into that side of the content creation side, it's cool to see all them together and stuff. And I was watching kind of to kind of get the overview of that perspective. I was watching, I don't know if you've seen MMORPG Curtis. He released an hour-long like vlog of his, Runefest experience today. And
oh, cool.
They walk through the door, and all 200 J mods are out there clapping and cheering for all the people coming in, and that was very wholesome and heartwarming to just.
That's awesome.
Always going. Every one of these summits, I have to say, all of the criticism we say about this game, these J mods love this game, care about this game, and every problem that comes out of it is either. Well, it's coming from up top. It's either they're not given enough resources to make the content perfect, or they're being pushed into making content that is subpar. And I always want to clarify that, because I will never say a negative thing about Mod Ash.
We are very lucky that the people who work on this game actually are passionate and care a lot about it. Like, imagine you replace all of these employees with people who are just there for the paycheck. We would be in a very different scenario. But Runefest is really cool. I would love to go. I love that it's a thing. I don't know if I will be able to go, just because it's tough. It's really hard to do. I'm from Canada. I live in Canada, so it's a little bit far. But they've always done some really cool things. And I was going to mention something. Now I totally forget what it was. It was Runefest. Oh yeah, with the streamers. So I can't remember what year this was, but they did this thing, and I thought it was a really cool idea. But they really try to get creative sometimes, and they know that like when content creators are going to Runefest, they're like, especially the live streamers, like they're not making content really, unless they're vlogging while they're at Runefest, but they're not really streaming RuneScape or anything anymore, because you're on vacation basically. But what they did was they rented out this giant mansion. I don't know if it was a giant mansion, but they rented out this house, and they put up a bunch of streamers there, and they made it like I don't know. I remember thinking of it as like a reality TV show, because it was like you have all these streamers in the house, and they would kind of do some like pranking on each other and all that sort of stuff. But the Jagex wanted to allow people who are traveling to still make content, like Bodhi and all that. Like they could still keep streaming and playing RuneScape on their off hours if they wanted to. So stuff like that was always kind of cool. And they did cooking shows in the past, and they've had live concerts, which they did as well.
One thing I saw from this year from that blog I was talking about is everybody, when they go in, they got this pack of 4 cards, and the cards are like, like Uncut Ruby and Raw Shark or something. And it says in there, what you're supposed to do is if you can trade with other people to get a full set, you can go turn it in at the Grand Exchange, which was a physical location that they had. It was like in the center of the convention hall, and you get some kind of prize. So a really kind of fun thing where they're trying to recreate that, Varrock bank standing outside, like, oh, trading, looking for uncut ruby card. I'll trade a shark for it. Which I thought was kind of fun.
What they used to do, and they might still do this for RuneScape 3, but they used to give you like exclusive in-game items if you went to Runefest. I know a lot of other
Runefest pet
games do that. Yeah, like a Runefest pet, or you'd get like a dragon scimitar, but maybe it was like trimmed differently, almost like how League's rewards, the way we get those cosmetics. Mm-hmm. They would do that, but Runefest cosmetics that you had to be there, obviously. It doesn't really jive well with old school RuneScape as it does with RuneScape 3, but yeah. So yeah, anyway, so the event ended up being bigger than what you were expecting. I wanted to watch way more than I did. I just couldn't just have a kid and stuff. He didn't care to watch RuneScape. He wanted me to turn it off and put on something else. But it seemed really cool. And I loved, they had Josh Strife Hayes, who this YouTuber, doesn't specifically make RuneScape videos, but mostly does MMO RPG videos. So RuneScape gets covered there. And he seemed like a really great host. It seemed pretty cool. Anyways, all this to say that, like, if you're listening, you're like, that sounds kind of fun, or like, I'm kind of into that sort of stuff, you probably would have an awesome time if you went. I think they usually have like a pre-party somewhere else on the Friday, the night before of Runefest. So yeah, there is definitely a lot to do. It ends up being a pretty good time. Trey, do you want to just jump into the roadmap? Like, we have a lot of updates to kind of talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Okay, so let's just go in the order of like when these updates are coming out, because we do have this roadmap. It's telling us like each announcement has a date, has like a month tied to it. So we'll just go in that order. We're going to start with this new boss that got announced called Yama, the Master of Pacts. So here, let's get into the lore a little bit. Deep beneath Karen resides an entity more powerful than you could comprehend. A ferocious, fiery demon resembling a minotaur whose I hate doing this because then there's always words I don't understand. I don't know how to say. Whose guile? Is that it? Okay. A minotaur whose guile and charm have allowed him to wrest control over other demons. Amass hordes of disciples who will sacrifice other humans to honor him and influence even the politics of Kurend. It's time to venture deep down into the depths of the chasm of fire and put an end to this demonic charm offensive. It's time to take on Yama himself. So we have got this new demon boss, which seems quite cool. And if you've done, you would have heard of this before, especially if you've been in like near the chasm of fire, because I think they're all called the disciples of Yama. And we have to fight like a essence of Yama or something like that from a Kingdom Divided.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
I can't remember exactly what that was. I don't think it was the demon himself, but so anyways, making its reappearance is this new boss, and specifically this new type of boss that we're seeing. It's the second iteration of this new type of boss called like the duo focused boss. We had Royal Titans, which we haven't talked about yet on the show, at least in detail. Royal Titans came out, a little bit ago, and it's this boss that's like really encourages you to do it with a partner. So it's a duo boss, which, by the way, I love that format. Trey, I'm actually really looking forward to next week's episode because we're going to talk about all the bosses in the game, which will give us a chance to talk about the Royal Titans as well. So anyways, Yama is another type of boss, the duo boss. Trey, what are your thoughts? We haven't talked about Royal Titans yet, but what this new emergence of these duo bosses, what do you think?
Yeah, not to also understate another big thing about this is a complete surprise. This is out of nowhere. And it's besides the sailing alpha, it's the first, it's coming out the soonest of their announcements. So
oh my God, we didn't even announce when it's coming out. It's coming out in spring, and it's basically spring right now. So
it feels like spring where I am right now. It's out of nowhere. It's in-game boss with some potentially best in slot meta changing items, and it's the fact that they're announcing so they announced a new piece of content that still has to be pulled, but they already have obviously they've already been working on it, and they probably have it near completion if they're intending to release it so soon. So that just shows how confident they are that this is a good boss that's going to pass the polls. And I think it will, because it's awesome. So they must have been once again, if they're announcing it this soon, it's already close to done, I would assume. And so that means that they...
I do have to say real quick though, but that seems so opposite of the direction and design that they were going. Where Jagex for a while, this is what they would do. They would create the boss, they'd have everything ready, they'd pull it, and then if it failed, what a waste of time all that effort was. So they kind of stopped doing that. They started pulling it early on, being like, do you like this concept of an idea? Should this concept of an idea turn into a concept of a concept? You know what I mean? Should they now start actually creating this? So obviously, I think a lot of us are like, this is 100% going to pass because it seems very safe. Maybe they know that. But doesn't that seem a little bit weird that they're fully creating this boss, all the rewards and everything? What happens when these rewards suck and they can't? I don't know. I guess it just seems different than what they've done before, which is fine. But I wonder why. Because I guess my first thought is what if it's just pulling? What if this is made from RuneScape 3 and they're just we're just tweak some stuff and.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that. I know that's not going to be the case, but
I really don't want to get into the there's just definitely a conversation that I feel like these updates are coming out way too fast, and I feel like they're pushing out content because they're being forced to, and I don't want to get lost in that whole conversation. It's weird. I do feel like they're releasing stuff super fast, and I feel like for the most part, it's been really good, and it still worries me because I don't know if I just think there's going to run out of good upgrades or something like that. But I have almost no complaints about this boss proposal or the rewards, but it still worries me, and I don't know if that just makes me a boomer.
Well, actually, can I just say something? Maybe this kind of ties into what we were saying earlier. Playing this Iron Man, I'm in the mid game. I have there's so many side grades in this game now. It's no longer just Dragon Scimitar to whip to, the next best in slot item after that. Now it's Dragon Scimitar to Zombie Axe to, Strachnus Cudgel. Things start spidering away and you have this web of all these items you have to go for. And I sometimes find it hard to be super motivated to go for an upgrade because I know it doesn't feel like that big of an upgrade. It seems like such a small step up because now we have all of these new items to go for. So sometimes I'm like, I want to go for this item, but I don't think it's going to feel as impactful because it's not as big of a step up from a Dragon Scimitar to a whip. It's I don't know, Dragon Scimitar to your Cudgel to your something else. I don't know.
To make an analogy that is not relatable to me, but I'm assuming is relatable to you, it kind of feels like buying baby clothes because how much use are you going to get out of it before you've outgrown it?
And then now it's sitting in a bag in my closet because I'm I'm not going to throw these away. I just bought them and you wore them 2 times.
Yeah, exactly. I figured that would resonate with you.
So now I have this leaf-bladed sword that takes up an inventory in my bank, and I'm like, do I throw this away? I've killed maybe 3 things with this, and then I got an upgrade. I don't need it anymore, but do I throw it away because I did work for it? And what if I need to use it later on? Same with baby clothes, because what if we have another kid? Or what if our kid shrinks and he starts fitting them again? I don't know. You never know. These things happen.
One thing I will say with... not with baby clothes, but with RuneScape, on an Iron Man, make sure you download the plugin that tells you every item in your bank if it's used for a clue step.
That's a good one. Yep.
That's helpful for peace of mind if you are going to, I can tell you that leaf-bladed sword isn't used in any clue steps.
Yeah, yet. Yeah, but yeah.
So you feel a little less concerned about getting rid of something like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think, I don't remember what episode it was, but I know it was me and you talking where it was I I think you said like, what would you worry about for the future of the game? And I said, my concern is that we get so many of these incremental upgrades that we start just skipping them because, when you think about, so going back to Corrupted Gauntlet, if you go from you don't want to do Corrupted Gauntlet, you want to skip it. So the idea would be you go from Eclipse, Atlatl to Tebow. And so,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. But when you break that down mathematically, that's hundreds and hundreds of hours of using this like subpar weapon. But when you're talking about going from a Dragon Scimitar to a Zombie Axe to a Whip, if you're going to skip from the Dragon Scimitar to the Whip, which obviously that's what people have been doing for a decade, but that's not, you're not talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours. You're talking about tens of hours. And so then if there's something between the Dragon Scimitar and the Zombie Axe, that's like, oh, you're only saving, 5 hours. And then it's like, do I only go for this for completionist reasons? And then the other way they've been handling a lot of these updates is like, oh, well, this one is they've built this dichotomy, and we're going to really see this with Yama of there's weapons that are good against low defense monsters, and there's weapons that are good against high defense monsters. So they feel the same. They're like as valuable for certain bosses, and so then it's like, okay, you need to get every single weapon because you'll need it for this boss, but you'll need this weapon for this boss. And I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like I'm in such a weird spot because I play this game so much. I play this game every single day, and I still feel like I can't keep up with the amount of content coming out. So I can't imagine what it would feel like for a casual player.
It's funny though. Like at first, I'm the one who started with the complaint, but as you're saying it, like I love the idea of having options. If I fucking hate having to get the Zombie Axe, I don't need it. I'll just skip it. People did that all the time before. Or if I hate the Dragon Scimitar, I can so easily switch it with something else. I like, so I guess that when you put it that way, you actually kind of bring me back over because I do like the idea of like, you know what? This upgrade is maybe not as great as another upgrade, but I love this boss. I actually have fun with this boss, whereas the other boss I hate. So, anyway, sorry, I think we got off track a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a point that we made, and I'm not sure if it's relevant for this. But so anyways, let me bring us back on course. About the format of like a duo boss where you have one other partner with you. Like, do you like the idea of that, or would you have preferred if this was like a solo boss?
Yeah, so we've seen, obviously, we'll talk about Royal Titans in depth, but just on the surface, so we've seen a little bit of this kind of group dynamic with the duo bosses, and the group dynamic, more specifically, I mean, is I need one other person to do this boss. So, you get 5 guys in voice chat, and, the day of release of Royal Titans, obviously it didn't take very long for everybody to kind of green log and get out of there. But, you get 5 guys in voice chat, and 2 guys pair up, and 1 guy's kind of left out. So but I do really like it because you only have to find one other person. And if I think a lot of us in this game, you have your kind of tight knit group of friends, and you have the guys that you kind of do content with. And so it's cool to just have that, like me and this one other person, I only ever have to work around one other person's schedule. And we're going to focus on hammering this boss. But if they're not on, I only need to find one other person. So the dynamic of a duo boss is actually a lot more different than like raiding than I would have expected. Mm-hmm. And, and Toa, Tombs of Amasket and Chambers of Zarek, the best thing about them from this perspective is you can just run in with any amount of people pretty much. You're capped at 8 for Tombs of Amasket, but Tob is so like, it changes the entire dynamic of the raid. If you have 3, 4, or 5 people, and those other raids, it's, for better or for worse, it's kind of just, the bosses are going to hit a little harder, yeah. So with the duo boss, I think it's a really cool, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's a very new kind of thing, even though it's like, oh, it's just 2 people as opposed to 3 or 5 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it does feel completely different to work with one other person. And the thing that'll be different with this from a duo perspective is what we've seen with Royal Titans is people just standing in the lobby being like, oh, I'm looking for one other person kind of a thing. Because, Royal Titans is super easy and it's, super, early mid game kind of a thing.
It's pretty chill. I like it. It's good. It's a good time.
You can run in there. I mean, apparently everybody that you were running with was, thinking you were a pretty subpar player and running in there and still doing it with you, even though you were not living up to their expectations, we'll say.
Okay. First off, they sucked. Okay. They thought they were gamers. Okay. So here's what happened. By the way, I love the duo boss and I love running with randoms sometimes because you have fun interactions until they're nasty to me. They always end up being nasty to me. I don't know how it happens, but I'm constantly being invited to like We Do Raids with a friend. So it's a friend. He got the We Do Raids group together and it takes like 15 minutes before that group has turned on me and everyone's yelling at me. And then sometimes they're yelling at the guy who brought me too because they're like, why you fucking brought me? Anyways, it's wild. I don't even know what I do, but I was grouping with this guy and I was doing my full eclipse because like I worked so hard for the eclipse. I wanted to use it. And then he was telling me to get like melee gear to go melee it. And he was being very nice, but he was like, he thought I was really dumb and really like, I was just slow. I was just slow and tired, but he thought I was like slow and just dumb or something. And he was constantly being like, now you can melee attack him. Now you can pray melee attack him. And then he'd be like, good job. You did a good job. And then anyways, he was like kind of coaching me through it, even though I didn't need the coaching. I was fine. I was just slow. So he would tell me, hey, put your zombie axe on and attack the boss. He would say it and then I would do it. And he would think I'm doing it because he told me to, but I'm just slow. I was already in the movement. My mouse was already about to click it. And then he types it out. So it made it look like I was listening to him. And then he was nice afterwards. He was like, hey, buddy, you're doing really good out there. Like a few more kills and you're going to have this fight down. I was like, oh my God. Like,
you didn't hit him with I have a podcast.
He's like, yeah, sure you do.
Do you know who you're talking to right now?
This is Dills the second.
Then like we see
who Dills the first is.
We see like a TMZ video of you getting, pulled out, just like shouting out of the club. Do you know who I am?
It was fun though. Like I'm joking. I thought it was I thought it was funny because like I was trying my best. It still came off as like really bad, but he was being very nice. My whole point is I love a duo boss from like a social standpoint because it's very intimate. Like you have to ask one other person to group and then it's just you two in there. And then, like it's a good time. And I just love how we have all these different bosses of different group sizes. So like, yeah, you mentioned like Tob is like a 4-person group. And then you have like Chambers, which is sky's the limit for the most part. Toa up to 8. And then you have like Wildy boss. Like, I don't know. I like how we're having all these different types of bosses where the different group sizes are.
So to pull us back on track a little bit,
yes.
Talking about that group dynamic with Titans, that is going to be completely different with this because they're saying that this is going to be the difficulty level of Awakened bosses, the Awakened Desert Treasure 2 bosses. So this is going to be up there with, like harder than the DT2 bosses, harder than like a 4-man Next or something. And so that whole running with randos thing is going to be a lot more like Tob, where it's like, let me see that KC. I only run with people with 100 KC. You're making mistakes. Okay, I'm going to go find somebody else. And so I could see that.
You might not want to be alone with another person. You might want a third just to like, just in case.
Yeah. You gotta know who you're going with. And so that group dynamic, it's just 2 people, but as opposed to Royal Titans where it's like, it's okay that they made a few mistakes. It's not going to be that. It'll be like Tob where it's like, if this other person doesn't hold up their end of the work here, then we're both going to die. So I could see it being, I'm not saying, I guess I'm making it sound like it's going to be super toxic, but I guess it will just be a different dynamic of like, show me your KC before we run together.
Yeah, it definitely, it might be something where it's like, you have to learn how to solo it first And then once you start getting the KCs under your belt, then you can find a partner. If you're like trying to find those, like if you're trying to run with like random people, that might be the case a little bit. But at the same time, they do make the point that this will be soloable. Even though it'll be easier as a duo, it'll be soloable, which is just how the Titans are as well. It makes more sense to duo, but you can solo if you want, which I think is perfect. Sometimes I don't want to find someone, but let's walk through some of the rewards that they've pitched. Some of them are kind of interesting. I'd say most are interesting. So the first one is called, they title it the Death Charge Upgrade. So Death Charge is a spell. You kill something, you get a special energy back. So it lets you like spec right away sometimes. But you will be able to get an upgrade to this spell from killing this boss, which would actually allow you to get, when you use Death Charge, you can kill 2 monsters and you get your special. So it kind of like doubles the amount of special energy you're getting in a way. But that's not the part that I care about. The part that I care about more is that we're getting a spell upgrade from a monster drop. That seems interesting. And again, the Titans were similar. They dropped prayer scrolls that upgraded a prayer that you had. So this is similar, but with magic spells. But it's interesting. I don't think we've seen this before. Maybe we have. I'm just blanking on it. But this is a new one.
Yeah. So Death Charge, just to kind of put it out there for everybody. So Death Charge is an Arceus spell that when you kill something, you'll gain. I think it's 15% special attack energy back.
Yeah.
So it's never something that when you're grinding a boss is going to just reset you for the next kill. But it usually, like I used it a lot when I did Duke on my main, and it's usually enough that by the end of, obviously your special attack is resetting during the kill, but it's enough that at the end of the kill you've regained enough, and with the Death Charge, that it gets you up to where you were. But it was always, that's kind of all I ever used it for. But the higher level community has 100 different applications for Death Charge. They use it like at Monkey Room. So you think about, you get this set amount of special attack energy back from one monster. And so if you think about that, like, okay, I'm killing Duke. That's just one thing that I'm killing. And so I'm going to get this little bit back, and it's not the most useful thing in the world. But when you have in a situation where there's a bunch of monsters, you can just be getting your special attack energy back. There is a time limit on it, but for stuff like crabs in Tob or the Monkey Room in Toa, like you're just killing stuff back to back, and the second your Death Charge is able to be used again, you just do it, and then you kill something super fast. And there's a lot of interesting applications for it.
Yeah, I like the idea of a spell like that. It's cool. I like that. And so pairing with that, are these like they're bringing about these two this new combination rune, which will be this is crazy. So you have a cosmic rune, and then you have the soul rune, and when you put it together, they become the cosmic soul rune, which I think is brilliant. But in all seriousness, it's cool. It looks like they're moving in the direction where they want you to bring thralls and this new Death Charge spell with you. So you're constantly like thralling, you're about to kill something, boom, Death Charge, maybe try to kill something else as well. But and then like maybe Yama's probably got some minions that you're gonna have to kill during the fight. So that's the idea as well. Like kill the minions, get your spec back, kill Yama more faster. Anyways, I'm into it. Sounds cool.
Yeah, I think that they're very self-aware with the Cosmic Soul Runes, that it's it's a bad name. I don't think that makes them immune from criticism. I still think they should have come up with a better name for it. But I feel like it's going to get memed to death, and they're probably going to change it a week after release to something different, like they did with the chugging barrel. But not a big deal.
Yep. We're getting a lot of new runes in this game, to the point that like because I don't use them, so I forget. But like the Sunfire runes, I forgot existed until like a week or so ago when I was looking up something in Varlamore and saw the Sunfire rune. So anyways, we're getting some new runes in this game, and I'm okay with the name being a little bit more simplistic and self-descriptive. That's I that's easy for me to follow. So I mean, whatever. The other item that they want to bring out is a new potion. So basically, a new secondary from Yama, and this new potion is kind of cool. You take a sip of it, and you can take a sip of it every 5 minutes, and it's going to restore 25% of your special attack energy. So yeah, consumable that gives you back special attack. We don't have one of those yet, so it's interesting. It's cool. I am interested to see what like the PvP community thinks about an item like that, because that seems a little
interesting. I didn't think about PvP.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be seen as a good thing or not. But whatever, seems cool.
Yeah, both of these, the Death Charge upgrade and the Surge Potion, really make me wonder, like, if Jagex could go back in time to, I guess, the kind of inception of RuneScape, like, would they just make it so that your special attack recharges upon the death of a boss? Because it seems like that's really what they're trying to do, is make it so that you have a full spec bar when you go to kill a boss. Maybe I'm misreading that. And this is a cooler way of giving you, more gamery ways of getting that special attack back. But it kind of seems like that's the goal with the way that they're time gating this. It's not to like make it so you can spec 500 times on the boss. To me, at least, it feels like the goal is to have a full spec bar at the beginning of every kill.
Which, you know what, like from a balancing standpoint, I'm not even going to touch on it, but like from a fun fun point of view, I think it's a good. There's an argument to be made that like, let me give some quick context because I unlocked the Eclipse Moon set, which is this 4-piece gear set that once you have it, you're doing ranged attacks and you have a 20% chance when you hit to basically apply a damage over time effect, burning them. And the burning basically just does like 1 extra damage every couple of ticks, something like that. And you can keep burning them 5 times so that it's doing like 5 damage per burn hit. I can't speak properly, but you know what I'm trying to say. You can apply like a burning effect that hurts them over time. And then the special attack for the moon set is you basically run up, you do a melee attack, but you consume all the burning stacks they have, and then you hit them for just a lot harder. And it's on paper, it has so much potential to be a fun effect. But I found that since I've been using it, that it just so often fails that it doesn't ever feel fun. I'm never satisfied by pulling off a big amount of damage because I just can't do it because I have 2 chances with my special attack energy. So anyways, as I've been using the Eclipse set the whole time, I'm thinking like, man, this armor is so close to being really fun to use, but it's just not strong enough. And you can't make it super strong. But gosh, where am I going with this? Something to do with like I like the idea that like using special attacks, it's fun. I think a lot of us would agree it's fun doing special attacks with weapons. Whether you have the Void Waker, the DDS, the Dragon Halberd that I recently got. I think it's awesome, by the way. It's fun when you can do a special attack and do a lot of damage. So having ways to get you your special attack energy back quicker will make killing things more fun. Like that's just more fun to do. Again, I'm not talking about this from a balancing perspective because you're doing more damage now. But from a funness perspective, yeah, like I think there should be more things like this. I like special attacks. Like I don't know, Trey, bring me back on the rails here. I've gone off the deep end.
Yeah, I think that I think what's been going on internally with Jagex for the past few years when it comes to PVM is they're saying they have on a whiteboard, they have Evolve Combat circled, and then they have Evolution of Combat crossed out. Because I think what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to add in more complexity to PVM without changing the core system. Because that was the reason that Evolution of Combat was like a game ender for RS3 was because it was you woke up one day and everything was different.
It was a new game, yeah.
So I think that, but they also realized, and the thing that people who are, come down super hard on some of the things that they're doing don't seem to realize is like the game has to change or it gets stale and boring. So I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to add in different ways of playing and different things in PVM to keep it like changing the way that the game plays in PVM. And their avenue for that, I think, has been special attack weapons. The first kind of iteration of that was the Soul Reaper axe, where it works completely different to how
fresh.
Yeah, and it worked in very similar in a way to how you're describing the Eclipse set. But they're realizing very quickly as well with that you run out of special attack energy and all that little fun stuff goes away and you just have to stand there and hit the boss. So now they're
hit
adding
0 and
your spec doesn't land.
And it's anti-fun. Which
we'll get to your spec not landing in just a minute here. But yeah, I think that now the goal is, we need to get special attack energy back faster so we can have more avenues for those special attacks, because special attacks are special and normal attacks are boring. So yeah, I think that's kind of why they're really focusing on special attack weapons and special attack energy, especially with this update.
I do think, this is something I've been wanting for a while. I'm not wanting, but I always thought this was kind of a cool idea, and maybe it's just because I've played other MMORPGs, but I always wanted there to be like different archetypes of classes, I guess, within this game. And you have that with World of Warcraft. You can be a mage, ranger, rogue, warrior, but it's very, once you pick it, you're stuck in that class. With RuneScape, it's much more fluid. But I always thought it'd be cool to have we're getting there a little bit. And I think as time has gone on, we're getting more and more there. But imagine you run a raid and you're like, we need somebody on the Lunar Spellbook to act as a support class. And we need somebody on who's a full, I'm a DPSer, but I'm full burning. I really want burning to be like an archetype of gear. So you're like full eclipse with your burning claws, and you're all about getting as many burning stacks as possible, and you consume them all to do a whole bunch of damage. I always thought that would be kind of cool, and I think we're sort of moving there because we have some burning now, and we're about to talk about something that kind of gives into like a support class. So the next item, which is quite interesting, it's called the Soul Flame Horn, and it's going to be this item that you can use a special attack to blow the horn. And what it does is your closest allies within 2 tiles have the accuracy of their next attack increased by 100% for the next 6 seconds. And then if the target is an NPC, the boosted attack always hits. Anyways, you blow this horn and it's going to make somebody you're with do a lot more damage, which is kind of cool. So like if you're running a raid or something, you might want someone, is anyone bringing the horn with them? Like, I like the idea of someone fulfilling that role. It's their job to be, as they said at Runefest, to be horning people.
Oh, I didn't hear that turn of phrase.
Oh yeah, he wants to just horn his friends.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, we have this like support class type of item. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's cool? Do you think it sets a scary precedent for the game?
No, I think it's super cool for most of the reasons you're saying. I mean, what a lot of people have kind of described this as is the red Karis spec for the rest of the game. So in Tombs of Amascut, there's these 3 gems that you can attach to your Karis partisan, and there's the yellow one, which is insanely good. There's the blue one, which is okay. And then there's the red one, which nobody uses. But essentially what it does is once you have spec'd on the boss with it, every other spec for a little short window after that is increased. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like it's in the wrong raid specs. Generally speaking, because of the way that special defense reduction works in Tombs of Amascut, it's actually would be a lot more useful in Chambers and Tob. So the idea of this, and I honestly had the Nihil horn in my head, so like something you attach, but I did not realize this is a horn that you blow, which is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's like the from Barbarian Assault,
Yeah, well, hopefully it's cooler than that.
You make it change in attack style.
Yeah, I mean, getting into like I did not realize that. And like the thematics of that, like from the fantasy perspective, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I'm just ADHD moment. This guy is in full graceful with a zombie axe and a defender. What could he possibly be doing? I don't know.
It's like someone was too lazy to gear.
Anyways, but yeah, so the actual use of this, another thing about just the fact that they are, presenting this, another really cool thing that is, the idea that if they're making this, it only has maybe, let's say 5 applications, as far as content that you're going to be running with a group that this is going to be useful for. But the fact that they're introducing this makes me, kind of put you in the head of where the JMods are, and the idea that they are going to be pushing more group content, which is awesome. I think we've really liked that trend they've been having. Obviously, we're talking about these duo group bosses. And yeah, it'll be, one of the things I've been talking a lot about in kind of my top journey is how it's the only place in the game where, kind of like you're saying, you have these roles. One of the things that sets RuneScape apart from other games is you go into, like, you don't have these classes like you're talking about with World of Warcraft. You are a major, a ranger, and a meleeer all at the same time, and everybody with you is that. And even something like Tob, you have roles, but they're only really necessary for a couple of rooms, and then most of the other rooms, everybody's meleeing. But I do like the idea of the old school RuneScape being the type of game where everybody has to have everything, but when you go to do this content, you kind of break up into roles. And from an Iron Man perspective, that's always fun because, well, it sucks and it's fun at the same time, because like with Tob, I can only do a couple of, certain roles because I don't have the items necessary for other roles. And so if you're a group of all Iron Men, it could be like, well, I got spooned on that horn drop, so I'm going to be running support for this content. And you kind of have to mishmash it together to find out who has what so that you can run the certain roles for stuff. And yeah, it's a whole different style of gameplay. And if that's where they're leading into with this horn, I'm all about it.
Yeah, it seems like it's a cool idea. It's something new that we don't have yet. So I'm excited to see. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this thing performs. I hope it's a cool item that, like, it's the friendship horn. You bring it for you and your bestie.
Bring it. Make a whole horny class of the game where there's all kinds of different horns at different levels that you can get. The idea of blowing a horn is so, ingrained in fantasy, and I can't believe I didn't realize that's what you would be doing with this item. And I'm like double on board with it now.
Horns are pretty cool, aren't they? I used to go to a lot of metal concerts when I was a kid. Well, when I was in high school, and I used to listen to like Amon Amarth and like Viking metal. And they would always bring these giant tusks, these horns. They would drink their ale from, and I always thought it was pretty badass.
Oh man, we start getting all these different fantasy horns, and then they just release like a straight up trombone as a part of the horn class. And I don't know what it would do. Maybe it makes everybody in the room automatically emote and start dancing or something. But
it'd be pretty cool. And like, I tried to play trumpet in high school too, and I was really bad. I was the worst person in my class. It was brutal. Like I didn't have like a whole ton of friends when I was like first into high school. You're meeting all these people. You don't have time to be the most popular kid in school. You're trying to figure out all the dynamics. You don't know who the toughest kid is in your grade yet, so you can't go up to them and fight them like you would in a prison yard. So when I was in my music class, I couldn't really play the trumpet, but it looked like a cool instrument, so I said I would play the trumpet. And I was like the worst in my class. So what happened was, when we did our tests, we would have to play in front of the whole class, and somebody would get picked randomly first, and then that person could choose who goes next. I went second every single test. Every test, they made me go second. And it was always like someone, like, it wasn't like my friends were picking me. It was just like anyone would, because they were like, no matter how bad you do, just make Dills go, and he's going to suck so bad that everyone will forget. And it takes the pressure off everyone else. That was brutal. But yeah, horns are pretty cool.
There's something so funny to me about the way you said, I could be the most, I didn't have time to be the most popular kid in class, because it just sounds like something you say to yourself when you're getting bullied, like, I could be more popular. I don't have time for that. I choose not to.
don't care. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be the mysterious. you think you're like that mysterious, quiet kid, but everyone just, that's that. Like, I was gonna say emo, but even the emos, they would have their own. The emos kind of all stuck together.
Yeah, when you're not even cool enough for the emos.
This is not my high school experience. Although one time this kid did want to talk to me about RuneScape in class, and I was like, dude, lower your voices. Like, everyone can hear you. But like, God, I don't need everyone to know I'm playing
the
RuneScape.
next item from the rewards
is the soul helm. And just like my soul is escape. No. Let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the abyssal worms. We skipped over that one a little bit. Actually, no, let's not skip over let me resume. Let's actually talk about the abyssal worms. This is going to be a new bait you can use in replace of like the red worms or whatever they're called that you would use to catch anglerfish. So this will let you catch anglerfish faster. I don't know. I don't feel very strongly about this one. It seems like a very safe, unique to bring out.
I think a common criticism is going to be this is only for Ironmen, which I personally don't care about for obvious reasons. But I think the biggest, I saw No Monkey was saying this, is like, you have an upgrade for fishing. Why is this not coming from sailing? That's coming out soon.
It's true.
It feels way more fitting for sailing. But other than that, it's definitely something that I will want to have, and that will be very nice to have because anglers does take forever. It'll cut down on the AFK time of anglers. It's an S tier AFK skilling thing, and that actually has really good rewards for Ironman. But having that having that sped up is kind of the same problem with like barbarian fishing or something, where the better you get at it, the less AFK it gets. But all that to say, there's nothing wrong with it. It would make more sense to come from sailing, but I don't care enough to strongly oppose it. And it's actually a good item that will be useful. I think it will have to drop in really large quantities for it to not obviously, the idea is, with a lot of the stuff in game, I'm grinding for the unique and I get the unique and then I have 10,000 of these from that grind and I'll just use them. But yeah, that whole Iron Man thing of like, I have to go back to grind this boss just for more of these worms would feel really bad. So hopefully it drops in really large quantities.
Mm-hmm. It is true. But who knows? Maybe you will have, once you're out there grinding for our next reward, you might have a huge stack. So the next reward is basically a side upgrade to Torva. Torva being the best in slot melee armor. This is going to be called, they just call it soul, helm, chest plate, and plate legs. But basically, it's going to focus more on accuracy, whereas Torva focuses more on strength. And I think this is fine.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier with this like dichotomy of Torva will be better against low defense monsters and this will be better against high defense monsters. So, in a sense, you'll have to get both of them. It's not a replacement. They've been really, it's the evasion of power creep, but still having best in slot items that's what this is they're giving you something that you're going to want to have for certain bosses that's as necessary as Torva for being, like a well-rounded kind of player. But from a, I don't know, excitement standpoint, I guess I'll say, it's like, yeah, it's another best in slot armor.
What I'm excited for, like you look at these two pieces of armor, the soul and the Torva, and you're thinking you're going to want both sets of gear because they have their uses that are a little bit different from each other. And then when I see this, I think like, you know what? A lot of people hate necks. Ideally, Yama will be fun and you won't hate it as much. So then if you hate killing necks for Torva, just go to Yama and you're going to have gear that's like, it's pretty much as good as Torva. Like, who's going to notice?
Oh man.
Fine.
Yeah, you're the fifth guy at top that we're like, are we taking this guy? And you're like, yeah, I basically have the best armor. It's the same thing, really. All right.
A little Frankenstein. He's a mess. But listen, he's trying his best and
I feel like the progression is probably going to smooth out, and it's just going to be, now you need to get this armor before you go to next, or vice versa. The whatever's the most efficient will kind of smooth that out. And as much as we like to say that, like, as much as you're saying that it'll be cool to have options, I feel like what's going to probably be more likely is you're just going to feel like you have to get all of these things, and it's going to be more efficient to get one before the other. And once again, I plan on playing this game for the rest of my life. If there's more stuff to grind for, that's all the better. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'm excited that the high level community is actually interested in this for the most part.
Cool.
They found applications for it at different types of bosses, and they're not rioting. They're not saying the game is dead, and that kind of keeps Reddit at bay. And if everybody's happy, I'm always more happy, because then doesn't feel like the game is in danger or something. So from that perspective, if they're happy, I'm happy. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, it'll also be interesting to see what it looks like. I know a lot of people don't like the way Torva looks. I think it's a huge visual upgrade over Bandos, because I think Bandos is super ugly, but we won't get into that.
Great stuff. I guess, should we just move right on to the next announcement for Runefest?
Yeah, I think, just kind of overall thoughts. I think Yama is, I think it looks awesome. I think it's crazy that this is the first thing that's scheduled to come out, but I think I am pretty much all positives about it, and I'm excited for it, even though I probably won't be doing it on release.
And I'm looking forward to see how friggin' awful this armor looks. I don't know what it is. They keep coming out with armor for end game stuff, and it looks awful.
Okay, but it's not Varlamore themed, so it's not gonna have a big star on the head. They went for something with the Varlamore theme, and I disagree. But it's Corinne, not Varlamore, so hopefully it looks as good as the full level 4 diary armor, which is the ugliest armor set that's ever existed.
Oh yeah, it looks pretty bad. And by the way, they'll have an upgrade version of this to go with the Blood Torva as well, that you'll have to earn similarly to the Blood Torva cosmetics. Okay, let's move on to the next update. There's a lot to talk through, and the next update is coming out in the summer of 2025, and it is labeled as Varlamore: The Final Dawn. This isn't really a new update. We've known this is coming out for a while now, but I think they released it again. There's been a bunch of like back and forth between some of the content coming out, because I don't know. I think they're can't please everyone, and I think Jagex is. Anyways, so they have this new Delve boss that's coming out, and this is one that I think has been having a bit of an identity crisis. Like, I don't really know how this boss is shaping up, because every time I read about it, like, something's changed completely different, or people are very unhappy about the next iteration. Anyways, it's gonna be called the Doom of Macchiato, which is a name. It sounds kind of cool, but yeah, the Delve boss. I think the idea of it, like, they have a Delve boss in RuneScape 3 where you basically just keep fighting the boss over and over again. They get harder and harder, and the loot gets better and better. So that's kind of the idea, but I don't know how much you want to talk about the Macchiato.
It really just goes back to what I was saying about the duo boss of, like, it's so weird with as much back and forth as they've had, and they've been just fighting the community to find the right way of doing this boss, that they would announce something coming out before this boss that is in-game content with best in slot rewards, and just, kind of essentially assume that it's going to pass because of how far in development they are. It just kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, and I guess maybe because it's like a new format, if I'm kind of calling it like the new format for a boss, like it being a Delve boss, and maybe that is what's causing issues. But again, they have it in RuneScape 3, so you have you kind of know, you have one that works in RuneScape 3. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised by it. So I don't know. I don't really have much to even talk about with this boss because I don't even know how it's shaping up. And I'd be happy to just move forward and talk about it when it comes out.
Yeah, because it'll be 100% different when it comes out than what it is right now. Before,
yeah, and like they don't even like they kind of have rewards, but no, not really. Anyways, let's just go through it like really quickly because Varlamore Part 3, we already know this was coming. They've talked about it before. There's a whole bunch of things that have been kind of like, up in the air, but there's a fletching activity that's coming out. That'll be exciting. A new Slayer dungeon with a new type of monster that'll be coming out. They have a new gemstone crab boss, which seems kind of neat. I wonder if this was, they pitched a turtle boss that was going to require some farming and hunting involved, and then we never saw it. I wonder if this is the newest version of it. Because it kind of seems, skilling-esque, maybe not so much farming, but you got gemstones now. That's kind of cool. There's going to be a new, what, is this a new Naga monster? So they have these new like Nagas they've been bringing out, and they keep having these weapons that are like these dual-handed weapons. So we're seeing a bunch of them. They're like mid-level mid-level monsters. So we're getting a new one called the Earthbound Takapodal. I don't even know. Okay, so I sped through that. Trey, do you want to back up and revisit any of those?
I'll give 1 bullet point for each of them, if that's okay.
Say one thing you like about it and then one thing that you hate.
Okay.
Or just hate's too strong.
No, I fucking hate it.
Okay, then you have to talk about something you really love about the boss too to balance it out.
Okay. So I'm scrolling up in the article, so I'm going to go in reverse order. So what I really love about the new Nagua, so they have 2 of them in the game already, and they both drop 2-handed weapons. One of them is focused on slash, and one of them is focused on crush. And I find both of those weapons to be somewhat useless because there's other weapons in the game that you can get at that point in your account that far surpass them. So the slash weapon, you'd be better off with a dragon scimitar, a zombie axe, or a whip. And the crush weapon, you'd be better off with a zombie axe, Torag's hammers, those kind of things. But the thing that I've been saying ever since I started this Iron Man is it is so hard to get a mid-game stab weapon. And so this new Nagua is going to be the one that drops a 2-handed stab weapon. And I don't know exactly where it's going to land as far as its usefulness and use cases. Right now, the only place I really feel a lack of a stab weapon is mostly Tombs of Amascut, because you have to do it to get the best stab weapon, and the Eclipse Moon. So that is my one great thing about this. My thing I hate about it. No, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I don't really care. I didn't really care about the other 2 of them. So it's kind of whatever. But I think if you have a new account, this will be of the 3 the most useful one to go for.
Cool.
Then going up to the Gemstone Crab boss, I think the thing I like about it is it looks really good and
it looks pretty.
It looks really goofy, but yeah, it's entirely designed to prevent all of the stealing crabs. Essentially, it's a crab that's meant to be attacked by multiple people. So instead of being at sand crabs and getting crashed, you'll just all attack the same boss. Which I won't go through the stretch of calling it group content, but I don't know, be kind of fun. Like, hey, I'm killing crabs, and your friend's like, I'm killing crabs too. Let's go kill the same crab. Not that exciting, but I think it's a fun idea. It's almost like so ridiculous that I think it's cool, and it's a low enough tier monster that there won't be a pet, but it looks. I really like the way I would love a pet like that, and then you could have it drop a transmog that you could change it to any crab.
Oh, cool.
The Slayer dungeon I think is. Yeah, I don't really care.
Another Slayer dungeon. We have so many of them. Oh my gosh. Dungeon. We have so many Slayer dungeons. Like, calm down, Jagex. I'm so sick of friggin' what's her face telling me to go kill something in some random place I've never even heard of.
Well,
going all the way to friggin' Soul Wars Island.
We'll get to what's exciting about that in a minute, in an hour. But So the Slayer dungeon, it drops the Antler Guard, which is supposed to bridge the gap between Rune Defender and Dragon Defender, which I never knew was a. Yeah, I don't.
The just right in the basement of the same building. There's no.
Yeah,
Don't
I don't get
leave
that. I don't
the
get that at
Warriors
all.
Guild.
Bridging the gap between Dragon Defender and a Vernic Defender would have made more sense, but
The door to get to the one room from the other is the gap. I don't understand.
I don't get why that's a necessary reward space. And that's, once again, that is where I start to get really worried. Like, oh, this is going to bridge the gap between the Mithril and the Adamant Defender. Like, it takes, you know what I mean?
Well, okay. The one thing I do like about this, though, is that I don't have a ranged offhand. I've been bringing an empty God Wars book because it just gives me 5. It gives me 5 extra prayer, and people make fun of me if I have like an anti-fire dragon shield and I'm not killing dragons, or if I'm bringing an elemental shield. They're like, what's that good for? And then I have to tell them that like it just has like an extra 2 defense over having nothing. So anyways, this has some range strength. That's cool. I'm down.
So I take back everything I just said because I'm looking at the stats now, and this is awesome. I did not realize this had ranged and magic attack bonuses. And a +5 prayer bonus. Okay, never mind. This is an awesome item. I take back everything I said. Why in the world have they been like advertising this as between the dragon and the Rune Defender? Like, who cares about that? This is a ranged offhand that's better than anything you're going to get on an Iron Man.
And like, or like you're out there PKing, or like, hey, oh, never mind, that won't work. I was going to say, if I have my Eclipse, it doesn't matter. People are like, don't care about Eclipse armor. Like, I'm so fucking tired of hearing him talk about Eclipse. But like, you bring this out into the wilderness, if you're a PKer, like range RCB to your DDS, ooh, he's gonna be feeling that the next day. So it seems okay. That seems all right.
I'm way more on board with it now that I see that is an item I will go for.
Pretty cool.
Okay, then going up. Sorry, just going through my one bullet point. So the fletching activity, I get vibes of forestry from it. I don't know. They describe the gameplay loop. I'm just gonna wait till it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just they have a block of text describing how the gameplay loop's gonna work, and I just kind of my eyes glaze over. But when I see that many steps, it makes me worried because forestry was such a mess. So I'll hold back judgment on that until it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the delve boss, I honestly think that this concept is inherently flawed because what people want is they want to kill this boss and it get harder and harder and it get to the point where you have like 100 mil drop if you're able to kill it, and then you double it down for a 200 mil drop. And I think at a fundamental level, this game is so like solved by the high level community that I honestly just think that without evolution of combat, I think that people are going to be able to just do this indefinitely and get insanely rich. And I think that's what a lot of people want. And I would really worry about the game if that was possible. So then they're caught with this loop of like trying to like, oh, it's only like 8, there's only 8 levels. And then it's not even the delve boss anymore. And I don't know, it's just been annoying to see the back and forth. And I just kind of want to wait until a year from now when they've released it. It's been patched like 5 different times and it's kind of finally at a good spot.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's all my bullet points for Varlamore Part 3.
Awesome. And they have a new Dragon Scimitar style weapon that will be doing burn. I'm telling you, the burn archetype is going to be a thing. But anyways, I don't want to talk about it because it is the name of the weapon is called a new melee weapon, first of all. So yeah. It's not coming into the game. Okay, let's move on. That's Varlamore Part 3. Looks exciting. Varlamore is huge. It's funny. Someone always comes back to the game after taking like however long, and they're like, look at Karen, and they just like, what the heck have I missed? Because there's a whole huge landmass with a ton of new content. Varlamore is pretty dope.
Dills, I've said this before. You know what my 3 favorite letters in this game are?
AQP? No. AQPW. QPW.
No, it's QOL.
Oh, yeah.
And that leads us into our next section, which I'm extremely excited about.
The summer sweep up. Okay, why don't you take us away?
Oh, okay. So The
Sorry.
summer sweep up. QOO. So yeah, you want to touch that up in post. Anyways, so the summer sweep up is kind of our miscellaneous quality of life, which has every one of these is something I think is, once again, I think QOL is more interesting than new content. I love when they can look back at, because there's so much old content, and the way to make it just not be completely replaced by new content is to bring it up to the level of new content without completely changing its identity. So step one is they're going to continue the project rebalance. They're looking at expanding, weaknesses and, all the different things they did that, the first step of project rebalance was kind of revolutionary, but kind of not, it felt like not complete. When I was doing this early Iron Man, I talked a lot about elemental weaknesses and how cool that is early game, but it's so limited. There's so many things still that don't fit that. And they're looking at adding that into a lot of more monsters, which I think is kind of what we expected, is it'll come out in batches.
I think they even said that too.
So the big thing that they have, like the big takeaway from this that they focused on, is the subject of halberds. So they released the Nox halberd, which had one of the biggest things about it is it has a 5-tick attack speed as opposed to the rest of the halberd class, which has a 7-tick attack speed. And so, which essentially makes it actually usable, because no matter how hard hitting a halberd is, 7 ticks is, basically half the speed of most of the weapons in this game. And you would have to be doing insane DPS to be able to do that. So the only halberd in the game before the Nox halberd that was ever used was the special attack of the Crystal halberd, because it just hits so hard that it actually justifies that 7-tick attack speed. So they haven't given any details about what they're going to do with halberds, but I think making them 5-tick as opposed to 7-tick will solve that problem immediately. But in the same sentence, like I just said, that brings up a problem with the Crystal halberd because it's so powerful at 7-tick. So they're either going to not include that, or they're going to I'm sorry, I just got totally distracted by sorry, someone in our clan just maxed and I just got totally distracted by that.
Trey, are you telling me you're playing RuneScape right now instead of 100% focusing on the podcast? I'm just joking. I'm doing agility. Let's type our GZs.
Yes. GZ, if you max while we're recording, I'll shout you out. Shout out to Chillbringer for maxing while we're recording and completely derailing me. Not something you see every day. Anyway, sorry.
Co-host of the podcast. He'll from him later, of course. Well, I think it's tough. I actually would be surprised, if they change the attack speed of the weapons, because I guess the Noxious it already has that tuned. But one thing, what I always felt like made halberds iconic is they have a longer range than any other melee weapon. You can attack like a tile away. So I don't know if this was common, but I assumed everyone did this back in the day. You get yourself a halberd, you go to the Heroes Guild, and then you can kill that single blue dragon in the basement because you can hide behind like bones or something, and you use your halberd. It took you 15 minutes to kill the blue dragon, but everyone did it. That was cool. Nobody does that anymore, but I love the idea of halberds being more useful because they have that cool thing where they have that extra attack length. So like you can sometimes I feel like an absolute gamer, people are constantly coaching me at Royal Titans, but then they see me bust out the dragon halberd and I take one step back because I can, and then they just see me spec. God, you look like a freaking gamer. Or you're tobbing and you do that step back and do your crystal halberd on whatever that big nasty looking motherfucker is that runs around in a circle. That's what I love about the halberd. You feel it kind of it's just, I don't know. It's a different. It's just I like that it has that longer attack, and I think that works. You just got to make them, I don't know, better. But I see here one of the notes is they're going to make that extra length of attack is actually going to apply to more things like flying creatures like aviances, I can't speak, or Zulrah or something like that, which I think would be awesome. I like the idea of, I don't know. I like that. That's cool.
No, yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. And Taub is such a great thing to mention with the halberds because the Nox halberd has done a lot at Taub in multiple rooms. It shows just how useful it is to be one step away because when you have monsters that are sending out melee or there's a lot of monsters in this game that if you're within melee range, they'll melee you. And if you're not, they're going to be sending out a different type of attack. So if you're able to stand one tile away and melee them, you can just pray against their other attack and, you're chilling. So there's a lot of applications for that. But once again, the only weapon in the game that you want to use for that is the Nox halberd. So if you're able to be safe spotting for, a Bloodveld Slayer task with a rune halberd, I think that would be super cool. And it opens up, it makes that weapon unique and useful and super cool to use. And I'm super excited for that.
See, that's the thing. You just sold me on maybe reducing the attack speed is what's needed so that you do see if I saw people killing Bloodfelds behind a chair with a rune halberd, that would probably make me happier in this game. So maybe they should do that. And then you can figure out the crystal halberd later.
Exactly. And,
cool.
I'll throw this out here for you because I just for you specifically, maybe something with PKing, you're standing a tile away and they don't expect melee coming in. I don't know anything about PKing.
Chair?
Yeah, I'm just yes. You log in behind a chair, they never see it coming.
Yeah, that's right.
So then going down, this is something that just as a title is very scary and interesting. I guess we have loot table changes.
Are you telling me they're going to make the T-bow easier to get? No, sorry. I'll let you.
No, that is, it's a very, out of context. That's a very scary sentence, especially for old timers. Loot table changes. They're going to make the enhanced, a 1 in 20. So I think once again, with all of Project Rebalance, it was a huge response of this game is going to be ruined. And when we saw it, they were very minor and actually well thought out changes. So what I'm expecting from this, they're talking about, I think they're mostly talking about normal loot. So they kind of use the example of like worms dropping 6 million blood runes and Firewatch Sentinels dropping 9 million blood runes a week, but nomads dishing out 33 million. Anyways, they're basically saying like the time to kill a certain monster versus the loot you're getting from it does not match up in a lot of situations. And I think, I just said it was for normal monsters, but I think one of the biggest things I think of is the older PVM bosses, like something like KQ, where you're only there for the uniques because the normal loot is so bad. And it's like almost laughable on some of these bosses. And so, but in the same sentence, I feel like I said this when it came to like the Desert Treasure 2 bosses or the Tormented Demons. It's like, okay, so now you're just going to get more rune chain bodies. I don't know. So what that actually looks like is going to be very interesting to see. But I like the idea of when you're killing a boss at a certain level, like a high tier level, that it will feel rewarding. And that's all I can really say about it at this stage of their development.
I think every now and then they need to stop and reflect on everything they've pumped out in the last however many years and then like adjust. Just because this game's so old, I remember when they did the same thing to all the Slayer monsters. They were doing a huge, like a loot table changes to the Slayer monsters, but they were just making Slayer monsters drop more items. So like Dust Devils, Necryarchs, Gargoyles, like they drop a lot of stuff right now. And it feels kind of nice, especially like I recently got like 75 Slayer, whatever you need to kill Gargoyles, and the drops feel awesome there. I remember they changed all of that because they felt like a lot of Slayer tasks didn't really give you any money. But they had bosses like maybe Vorkath. I can't remember if Vorkath was out yet, but they certainly had Zulrah and other bosses that dropped a lot of money. So they wanted Slayer to they don't want Slayer to give you nothing and then Zulrah pumps out everything. So I think maybe something's happened since then. They're looking at all these bosses they've brought out and they know more about drop tables and this and, and there's also certainly like just in the lines we were saying about the Vire Watch and the worms and then Nomad dishing out 33 million blood runes. Like that's just the example, but we have things like Soul Wars, which you can boost. And that wasn't a thing when it first got released. So I think you need to balance things a little bit more just because RuneScapers are going to find ways to exploit anything. So every now and then you need to like, oh shit, we didn't realize that many blood runes are coming into the game. Maybe 90% of the blood runes shouldn't be coming from Soul Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, it's we'll see what they do with it, I think. So moving on to the next stage is Slayer improvements. Slayer is my favorite skill, and I could I did talk for 3 or 4 hours about how it could be improved. And I think, it says here they listen to the All About Slayer episode, and it's all based on that. So
they just have a link to the episode, which is it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I feel like we should be getting some money from that. We should probably talk to them.
Yeah, they say it's from the recent Jagex modcast too.
Oh, okay. It's just stealing it. So these all look like great things. So first off, we have reworking the block list system to give you more flexibility. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but hopefully
it's always good.
Yeah, I think that actually ties in to skip down a couple, merging some monsters into broader categories for better assignments. So I think that ties in with the block list, but probably the number one thing that comes to mind with that is having chromatic dragon tasks or metal dragon tasks instead of being bronze, iron, steel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
They would have to. I'm not sure how they'll differentiate that because if you got 150 chromatic dragons, but you use that to kill 150 rune dragons, which are usually like 4 or 5. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Making things, maybe tying all the wyverns together would be nice. So having, and then, you could say I'm blocking all metal dragons, which, I can only dream of the day. So yeah, just improving the block list. Great. Love that. Merging or making sure tanky monsters reward the effort needed to take them down. So the first thing that comes to mind with that one is like drakes or dark beasts are another one where, they're notoriously very slow to kill. They're recommended for like almost every block list because of that, and they don't drop anything good. So I think what they're saying with the wording there, making them more rewarding, would mean they get better drops, I guess. So we'll be interested to see what that actually means. But I love the idea of Slayer being the kind of skill where you want to do everything, and the only reason you block something is because you've gotten everything you want from it, as opposed to blocking the most painful, miserable things in the whole game. I mean, hell, tanky monsters like water fiends, if they can make water fiends necessary to actually kill, that would be amazing.
Yeah, those are the worst. I hate water fiends.
So go ahead.
Nope. I got nothing. Sorry.
So then we have taking a fresh look at Inferno tasks. So that's a very broad wording there. I think probably what that actually means is kind of this. They have kind of a weird kind of. I don't know. It's hard with Inferno tasks because you have Inferno speedrunners who just want Inferno tasks all day long. Then you have the people who will do them when they get them. And then you'll have the people who, if they get a Jad/Inferno task, are always just going to do the Jad because it's easier. But I think that speedrun category is probably where the most feedback is coming from because, you have to be on a Slayer task if you're going to compete for a world record speed time, because it is that good of an upgrade for your run to be on a Slayer task. So what you get in the high level community is people who are tutorial skipping for 24 hours and just to get a Jad task or, an Inferno task. And then they go for their speed run, something messes up, something minor, they forget a piece of gear, they have to reset. And then they have to do all that over again. So I don't know if that means, I have no idea what that means they're going to do, but they're going to take a fresh look at it. And then moving on, this one's very interesting. Modifying the Abyssal Sire encounter. This one should have an asterisk that is sponsored by Reddit. Because there was a big push recently, people complaining about Sire. I don't know. It's a weird area. I completely agree that Sire does need some changes made. It's just weird timing because I don't like when it feels like they just see something on Reddit and are like, oh God, we got to change that before people start freaking out. It does feel like it happens a lot in this game. To be fair, they are listening to their community. There is an optimistic way to look at that. But
and the problem with Sire too, just for anyone who might not have killed it, like at least one of my big complaints with it, it's like not that bad of a boss. It kind of gets a lot of flack, but the problem with it, I think, is there's just a few things that it just feels like it slows the whole fight down, and then it makes it just feel a little bit clunky. Like there's a few parts where the Sire has to move a little bit, and it's not that fast at moving, so you just kind of sit there and wait a second, and you let them kind of walk around. And there's that beginning, we got to break the vents before the fight actually starts. So I think it just feels like it's artificially slowed down but it's not that bad. I think it just feels a bit more grueling if you're, someone who's doing just a ton of kills. Like you might be looking for any little thing to make it go faster.
So if I had to, I'll predict exactly what I think they're going to do, just based on how they've handled this with other monsters. So the first thing that's probably obvious that I think they'll do is they'll make the vents guaranteed max hit. With which actually what they probably should do, which would be very interesting, is it's a guaranteed max hit if you're using a Demon Bane weapon. Which
cool, that makes sense.
Which, as in the same sentence, would be really cool because a lot of people use the shadow at Sire. And if they made it that, they could also, that would have a meta for the purging staff, which is a completely useless weapon. So anyways, I think maybe a guaranteed hit with any weapon and a guaranteed max hit with a Demon Bane weapon would be a really great upgrade. And then either improving or speeding up the animations or just allowing you to hit Sire while like he's walking around.
Yeah.
And that's really all you have to do, I think. Because it's actually a kind of a cool boss fight. The actual part where you're hitting him and hitting and moving back and forth is, I think, actually kind of a fun little part of it. I recently did a grind for my bludgeon, got absolutely spooned. And for Unsireds, I got a bludgeon under 200 KC. And so part of the reason I was enjoying it is because I was getting spooned, but I actually kind of like that boss fight with the Demon Bane. I had both Demon Bane weapons. But I think just some tweaks. And I also say anything they're going to do with speeding up those animations, they need to also do to Grotesque Guardians because that suffers from the same problem. I think just a few tweaks and it could be a lot better. I don't think it needs a complete overhaul like some people have said. So anyways, the last part of the Slayer improvements is kind of an interesting one. Adjusting perk prices so they feel more in line with their benefits. So if you listen to the episode I did with MIDI about Slayer, I talked a lot about how I would like to see a system that, where you didn't have to be spending your Slayer points on all the different things you buy, but also on all the skips and stuff. But it doesn't seem like they're changing that necessarily, but maybe adjusting some of the prices of stuff so you're not spending all of your points on upgrades. I have a couple thoughts of what this might be. I don't know, Dills, do you have any thoughts of what comes to your mind first about like what's overpriced as far as like Slayer unlocks?
They are kind of weird. Like the ones that are like fun to unlock, they're very, it takes so like, that's a good question. Like the first thing that comes to mind is the Slayer recolors. They're about 1,000 points, which probably maybe that's fine because by the time you're paying for those, like maybe you're just hoarding points anyways. But that's kind of long. That's a lot. You know what? A lot of people Turiel skip, and they say like all irons get to that point where you Turiel skip. So you're like, you stop caring about your streaks and all that sort of thing. You're just like, instead of like spending points to cancel tasks, you're going to Turiel to get those crap tasks to skip them yourself. But it'd be kind of nice if like, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they should do, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think of it on the spot. I can't. I don't know.
Let me propose something to you.
Yeah.
So this is maybe too far, and I think a lot of people would think this is way too far, but what would you say if for 1,000 points you unlock a Slayer helm upgrade that lets you freely switch between any that you have the necessary item for? Similar to the update they just did with the POH like stuffed head, where you don't have to demolish it and rebuild it. You can just freely swap between any of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, it probably should have been that. Like, it should be that by default. But like, if they just want to add, like, it's a good reward. I think it's safe. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it's hard because it does, like, people would be getting like 5,000 to 10,000 Slayer points refunded if they did it like a refund kind of thing for all the ones you'd previously bought. And I know, like, when I was on my main, one of my goals was to unlock all the different Slayer helms. And, you know, that would, you know, devalue that. But it also was, I don't know, you know, when me and Mitty talked about how that is just such a point drain. But, you know, once you get 99 Slayer and you're just kind of looking for tasks, like you're saying, where you have to start Turiel skipping and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it would be nice not to have to spend all your points on Slayer helm recolors. But yeah, other than the Slayer helm, I feel like it's going to be very, I don't know, very nitty gritty kind of changes. You know, like, oh, this one will cost, you know, 50 points less and stuff. I think they're going to get rid of that weird 500 points to block Fossil Island Wyverns one.
Yeah, there are some like ones that are weird, and you can tell it was just like put there because I don't know, maybe they wanted to add it. And they didn't know how else to do it, so you just add it to the Slayer. But yeah, the Wyvern ones, or like the Gargoyle one, where it's like when you kill the Gargoyle boss, you get 2 KC per. And it's like
that's a strange one.
Are people unlocking that? Like, I mean, maybe they are. But one thing that they need to do, this is dumb that you can't, is like when you unlock something, it should be a toggle. You can turn it on and off, because like it sucks that you have to like just cancel your thing that you unlocked. And I think you have to repay it if you want to, like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, like as a main, I got to 99 Slayer and I canceled my Lizardman Shaman, so I can't get them as tasks anymore. But like now, if I like, oh, maybe I want to get the Dragon Warhammer for the collection log, maybe I'll do it through Slayer. I got to repay the points to do it. But then again, that's such a weird. Not many people are doing that. When you're at that point of the game, I guess it doesn't really matter anyways.
Probably the most applicable one for that specific thing is the Inferno / Jad one, because you get it so you can, you know, you unlock that so you can get Jad tasks, and either you get the pet, or like me, you just don't really enjoy Jad tasks. And then let's say way down the line on your account, you become a master of the Inferno and you want to start doing those as Slayer tasks, and you re-unlock that. But yeah, like you're saying, at that point, it's like 100 points, and who cares? Just re-unlock it. So yeah, that one, it's kind of hard to talk about. I think it will be interesting to see what they do with it, but it's probably just going to be it's going to be a rebalance like most of this stuff, and it's going to be moving some numbers around. Probably, it doesn't say, you know, it's saying adjusting perk prices. So it's not saying adding any new features, any new unlocks. It's not saying really revolutionarily changing any of that. It's just adjusting prices. So that's probably all there is to say about that specifically.
Yeah, it's honestly a bit surprising they would even add it on here, because it's like, okay. Yeah, it's like such a small thing that like you could probably not have included this, and I don't think anyone would have been like I don't know. It's such a small thing to just throw on here in the summer sweep up, but I guess they're trying to fill it out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing that in there makes me excited, because I do think that there's some weirdness that I would like to see cleaned up. And I like the idea of, rebalancing stuff. They've had so much time to see how people are, spending points, what they're not spending points on. And the Slayer helm thing is a big thing I would like to see either reduced in price or changing the way they do it. But yeah, I think it's a cool thing, but it's just, there's just not much else to say about it.
Mm-hmm. Not too bad.
But yeah, that's pretty much all there is for the summer sweep up. Like I said, it is still, even though I sound like, it's just moving some numbers around, there's a lot in there that I don't know, it gets me more excited than even a new boss potentially, because I like things that give reasons to do the old content. I like things that make the old content relevant. I want to see a day where KQ and King Black Dragon are like just as good to go to and have just as much reason to go to as, some of these newer bosses. But maybe I'm being a little too fantastical with that idea.
One day we'll get like a hard mode or like a corrupted mode for every boss. I bet it'll be like a Reaper Slayer task, and they'll like every boss will be tuned up. I can see it. I can already hear it. They're testing it with leagues last season, I bet. But it should be good. I think the whole Slayer perk system and the point system, I think it's, now that if I think about it, it's I think if it was designed now, it would have been way different. It does feel kind of, I don't know. I think it could be made better, but I also think I'm making an issue out of nothing. It's also fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't mention anything about, a lot of what me and Mitty talked about was maybe giving certain tasks different weightings based on their Slayer Master. They're not talking about any of those kind of Slayer improvements. So I don't know. And maybe it's what you're saying. Maybe they don't think that's worthy of having a note, but it is something they're going to do. But I think there's a lot of minor things with Slayer that could be done to make the best skill even better. But time will tell.
Time will tell indeed. Who knows? Maybe they've sunk all of their resources into this next item. Because in autumn, this is actually a big one. I didn't expect. I did predict that this was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen so soon. So we got the sailing. This is the next one. Sailing, guys. You know that new skill, sailing. Yeah, they canceled it. It's not coming out. No. It's coming out in autumn, in next fall sometime. So that's or Q3 as the business people say. So that's pretty big. They're going to have a play test. I guess the alpha play test, the beta play test. It's the first public play test will be happening this month, actually, which is kind of cool. And you know what? See, they have a video of it. You can like go watch of what sailing looks like for all you naysayers. It doesn't look bad. It looks. Dare I say it? It looks like okay. It doesn't look awful. No, but like they did have this, like when you think about it, like this crazy task of how do you make moving in a boat fun when like moving on old school RuneScape is a very frustrating thing in general, because movement is just kind of fucked in this game. But it seems like they actually pulled it off. Sailing looks like it's not like it doesn't work the same way as you walk, but they have their own system and it looks all right. It looks like it works. So that's pretty cool. I don't know. How much can we break down here? Let's go to the dev blog. I am scrolling down, saying it out loud as we go. Oh, and it's rather small little blog there. But yeah, anyways, they have a lot of things. One of the things they showed off at Runefest was like, they're like, here's one way you can train it. And they, a lot of people laughed at it a little bit. I looked at it, I was like, I love it. And all they did was they had this dude, they go pick up a box of goods. They loaded in their little raft. They had the small little sailboat, and then they had to bring it to another port. And that's how they got some experience. And like people are like, oh, so you just move one thing from one place to another. But I really like that. I of course, once you get repetitive with it, who knows how that's going to change. But when I play games like No Man's Sky or Elite Dangerous, or when I used to play like Arma 3, they have these like, I forget what they're called. You ever play Arma 3 or Arma 2?
No, I've never even heard of that.
It's where DayZ came from. It was a mod on that game first. Anyways, it's like a military sim game, but there's all these mods that people do. So it's kind of like like Minecraft, where you join people's servers, these custom made servers, and you play these different game modes. But somebody made like a life simulator on Arma, and you can just like make money doing all these different things. But I would love shipping stuff. I would just load up. I'd get a huge truck. I'd load it up with a bunch of goods, usually from a farm, sometimes drugs, illegal narcotics, and then you drive it across. Yeah, I know. And then cops would have to. It's Arma. What I'm talking about is kind of like GTA RP. If you've seen those RP servers, Arma had stuff similar. But anyways, my point is when I play a lot of these games, I end up shipping stuff a lot just because I think it's fun, and that's how I make a lot of money. Like No Man's Sky, I got this like huge ship. I was like so pumped. I had so many like spots to store stuff, and I was like, perfect. I'm gonna load up on all these goods from one system. I'm gonna freaking fly across the galaxy and sell them at another system and make bank. And I find it fun. I find it cozy. So I got excited for seeing that on Sailing. But what's your takeaway? How do you feel about it? I can't remember. For some reason I feel like you weren't at least super into Sailing. Am I getting that wrong? Am I making that up? Am I a goddamn liar?
No, you're right. No, you're a goddamn truther.
Oh,
cool. Yeah, no, I've been pretty opposed to Sailing. I was a big taming guy, but if I'm being honest, if I could go back in time, I would have probably voted no for a new skill. Just like in the time, like seeing it's just like seeing how the development has gone, and not even really saying anything bad about the development, but realizing kind of the implications of what a new skill means. I don't know. And I don't want to say I would always vote no for the rest of my life for a new skill. There's a lot of stuff there, but this announcement, I mean, for one thing, way sooner than I think anybody expected. And I'll be the first to say there's no shot it comes out in autumn. Winter, maybe at the earliest. I don't know. I still think it'll be 2026. I think they're going to release the alpha and there's going to be 100 million notes and they're going to say, oh, it's delayed because, based on your feedback, which most of the stuff has been in this game. And, once again, one of the things that makes old school special is they're going to take our feedback in and they're going to scroll on Reddit until they see a better suggestion and they're going to go with that. But, seeing this announcement, seeing them saying Sailing is coming, it was kind of the last straw of like, okay, this is coming, and this is coming into the game. There's nothing that's going to stop it. There was a part of me that with all the negative feedback was like, maybe they're just going to repoll it.
They are. No, they did say they have one more poll to see if it makes it into the game. So like it could get all this way and then for it to be like, nope. Gosh. That seems crazy. Like I don't know where I even read that. But I'm pretty confident I'd read that and I was like, wow, they're gonna pull it again. All this and it could still not come into the game. Although I'm not seeing it in this dev blog in front of me, so maybe I am a liar. Oh,
all that to say though, I think that I understand being negative towards Sailing, and I understand that there's a lot of very valid criticisms. But, like for me personally, I've just, like I said, I've accepted that this is coming into the game. And so with that acceptance, I fully hope that it will be the best it can possibly be. And it'll be the coolest thing ever. I don't want bad content to come into the game. And I definitely don't want a bad skill because, it's not just a quest that I can not do or not pay attention to. And it's not like just a boss that I can buy the rewards from or something and never have to worry about. It's a skill and it's going to be an integral part of the game. There will be metas that will come from this that will be, kind of, you'll be crazy not to use Sailing to train other skills because it's such a better way of training that skill. And so now I need to put the best foot forward and kind of accept, I need to be an adult about this and I can't just cross my arms and be like, no, this is stupid. I have to say, okay, this is coming in, and now I have to be as optimistic as possible because I love this game and I want this game to be the best it can be. And there's a lot of weirdness with Sailing. I'm not going to repeat all of the things that have been said about Sailing because we all know them, but there's validity there, and they're more aware of that. They've got people still screaming at them every day, all of those points, and they're very aware of that. But yeah, so I guess I got to, rewatch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And, I've never been a big like pirate guy or sail, any of that. Not my jam necessarily, but yeah, it's going to be crazy. I mean, I feel like I got to take a week off of work. Actually, I feel like I got to take a week off of work like the week after because it'll probably like shut down the servers. And I've always scared of that. I don't know about you. I've never taken off work for new content, but I hear so many stories of like, oh yeah, the servers were down for 6 hours on release of whatever.
It's tough.
And it's like, well, I'd be so mad.
I remember this was like years and years and years ago, but I got like a PS4 and then for Christmas and I got like Destiny. I was so excited to play. I got Destiny and then but some people were DDoSing the Sony servers and they did it for like a long time. Like I remember by the time I could actually play, my time off was basically over and it was like, I was a little bummed out. I was very much looking forward to that. Oh yeah, that sucks. And they're refreshing. Oh, come on. Why aren't you up yet? That was brutal, but man, it could happen.
We almost got through an episode without you talking about Destiny, but it's on the checklist. You got to do it.
Yeah, and I think yeah, and Warhammer I think is gonna be the new one. Money. That's what I want. I want it to be. I want to transition from Destiny 2 to Warhammer references. That'd be kind of cool. How about that? Space Marines too. Let's sailing. I think I don't know. The worries are fair because like with a lot of content, if you don't want to do Yama, if you don't like Yama for whatever reason, you're like this dog. I hate it. Like for whatever reason, you like hate it that it was released. You can not do it. But sailing, even if you don't like it, you're probably gonna have to do it at some point. So I get the worry a bit.
If it's a well-designed skill, you'll be trolling yourself if you don't utilize it. You know what I mean? Like if it's like, I think the best skills in this game are the ones that are the most integrated into other skills. And if this is, a lot of people have said this has got to be the best skill they've ever that in the whole game because, it's their first new skill. It's not going to be fire making or something. It's got to be far and beyond anything else in the game. And that's what they're shooting big with this. And if they hit the mark, there's going to be, best in slot training methods for fishing and probably Slayer and like all the different skills because, I mean, yeah, it's a new skill. So yeah, it will be integral to the game.
Should be fun. I'm excited to be like Catherberry and see some person whip by, call me an idiot, and then disappear off into the sunset. So yeah, should be good. And yeah, they say here it should be about an hour and a half or so to complete the alpha this month. So you'll have about a week to test it out before they shut it down. So if you want to try it out and then complain about the alpha and how much it sucks and release is going to suck, you can do that. You got the next month to do that. Okay, anything else about sailing?
No, I can I don't know if I should go like mow my lawn or something while you talk about Dead Man. I have literally nothing to say about it.
Okay, well, Dead Man mode's happening in the winter. Very fun. Dead Man mode is like, imagine leagues, but instead of it being, it's like, let's just make it PvP everywhere, and if you die, you lose your bank. It can be pretty awful. If that sounds awful to you, then you probably don't want to try Dead Man mode because you die a lot, you get your stuff lost a lot. But I don't know if there's much more that I would want to talk about because to be honest, I haven't really followed Dead Man mode super closely. I didn't participate last season. I don't know why. I just didn't. But I do want to sit down and do an episode where we can talk about all the fun stuff of Dead Man mode over the years because like the first like 10 tournaments, like there's always something wrong that was going on, which made it very.
There been 10 of them.
What's that?
Oh, I didn't realize they'd done it that much.
They had tons. There was like, and like I remember when it first came out, like Dead Man mode on release was actually fucking insane. Like you could just accelerated experience rates. You could kill anyone anywhere. You killed someone, you got their whole bank. Like when that came out, that was a crazy release. I remember the subreddit had to be like split up into two. Like anyways. But yeah, there's always some sort of like problem that happened in Dead Man mode. So I'd love to do an episode one day. So anyways, depending on what's happening, maybe we'll talk about it more when we get closer. But let's move on to I guess this is like this definitely felt like the big announcement of Runefest. Here, let's play the trailer.
My dear sister, what have we become? It was all within our grasp. A new home. A future for our people. An end to our enemies. All lies. Power slips through idle fingers. And every opportunity we've been given, we have squandered. But you, dear sister, you have delivered the means for our salvation. With it, I will finally reclaim our destiny. And this time, no one will stand in my way. The blood moon will rise once more.
So early 2026, The Blood Moon Rises will be released. This is the Grandmaster finale for the Myrique storyline. You know, the vampires and all those things. That story is all wrapping up. And it seems like a pretty big deal. It feels like they've been giving a lot of love to Mauritania the past bit, I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel like it's got a lot of focus to have this, like, to have this quest wrapping up. I feel like we just got like expansions to it, but maybe I'm thinking back to when Tob was released, which was actually a long time ago. It just feels like Mauritania's gotten a lot of love compared to the other areas.
We've had like
not in a bad way. Mauritania's pretty cool.
We've had a Raxor recently. That was a big
and then
Mauritania
Nightmare,
edition.
and then Theater of Blood entry. I should have made a list. Anyways, we're getting this new quest. It should be pretty cool. I'm wondering if we're gonna get more of the Darkmire city built out. I guess I'm excited to see how that area gets fleshed out, because I love Mauritania, but Darkmire kind of it sucks as a city. Like, oh god, I just think everything about it sucks. It sucks getting there. It's kind of depressing. You got to be careful, like everything you do, because you got to be wearing that specific outfit. So if you accidentally remove the boots or something, you're gonna have a bunch of people trying to kill you. It feels like it should have more to do. Maybe not, though.
I feel like definitely one of the rewards from the quest will be similar to Monkey Madness 2, where you become a friend of that city, and maybe everybody stops aggroing you.
And you can do your full rogue set to pickpocket the vampires. Yeah, get 2 blood shards. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I guess there'd have to be something. Maybe you wear maybe if you kill Draken, you can wear his head or something to make them aggro you again, so you can still do the Firewatch Sentinels. Like, whoa, you can't do that, and then they all start attacking you. But that could be something from it. Like, once it's fresh in my mind because I was just doing a very Iron Man thing. I was buying a bunch of bananas for maniacal monkeys, and I put all my Gree on and something, and went to Apatol, and it was like, oh yeah, I can just walk around. I'm like a friend of this place now. I can just buy stuff, and nobody's attacking me. Like, that is such a scary place when you go there from.
It is everything. I remember doing it on my Pure, and you get one shot by the level 3 spiders, and you're like, I can't even see this thing. How is it hitting me so hard? Everything poisons you. Yeah, it's scary. And yeah, Mauritania's like that too. It's also a very scary place to be, because it's danger at every corner.
Yeah. So the first thing about this, I have a problem with the name, Blood Moon Rises. I don't understand. Obviously, this is a big quest that's been in development. How did somebody not walk across to the other office and say, "Hey, you guys are developing this new armor for the Moons of Peril called the Blood Moon armor, but we're actually doing this Grandmaster quest called Blood Moon Rises, and these things aren't related at all, and it's kind of weird that we're having the Blood Moon here and you guys are doing the Blood Moon there, so maybe one of us should change our name."
That's strange.
I don't. Yeah, I think that was an oversight, and maybe that will get called out. It wouldn't be the first time that Jagex has changed the name of something.
It is a quest title, so maybe it's a little bit different. No one's gonna be like, is anyone blue mooning? You know, I don't. Not blue mooning, blood mooning. No, I don't think anyone's gonna be asking blood mooning rising. I don't know. I didn't get much sleep last night.
I mean, if I if I don't get if I don't get my BOFA anytime soon, and by early 2026 to go to Bandos, and I'll be killing Draken with my Blood Moon armor. So maybe it'll be like an Easter egg if you're wearing Blood Moon while you fight
secret ending.
That'd be sick. Yeah, the secret ending. Yeah, that's it. I mean, not to harp on the title, but yeah, something rises feels like the start of something, and this is the finale. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just the title of it. But yeah, I mean, I know the lore people are really excited for this. I don't know if that's. I believe that this story has been. No, it hasn't been concluded in RS3, but because I don't think any of this exists in RS3. I don't know RS3, but I know a lot of lore people are very excited for the ending of it. And I don't know. Is there anything lore wise that you have to add? Since I obviously am not very
knowledgeable either. I don't really know exactly what goes on in the quest, to be honest. I need a refresher for sure, but I mean, this should be cool. I'm sure it'll tie things up. It'll be fun. It should be pretty good. Yeah.
So rewards wise, that's probably most people's most interesting. The thing they're the most interested to see. I don't know.
Did they
I have
say
a lot
anything?
Of thoughts on that?
Oh,
no,
okay. I was gonna say I missed
anything about
but
rewards.
yeah. I mean, another teleport. Probably. I feel like every quest gives us a new teleport. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It could be anything.
So, first off, I think instead of an area expansion to Darkmire, I think what would be cool is that massive Castle Draken. If that was the content expansion, and there was just a bunch of stuff inside that castle. I don't know.
No, I
Have you ever
haven't
played Hollow Knight? God, that's an awesome game. But there's my favorite level in that is you're going through the royal palace. 10 out of 10 game. That was my COVID game, so I was off 2 weeks because I had COVID, and that was what got me through. That was a time when I wasn't playing RuneScape. Anyways, so I think a lot of stuff that there's been a lot of conversation about blood shards and vials of blood, and better ways of getting them, essentially. So the high level community has, the blood fury is extremely broken, and it's kind of a necessity for late game, in game players, and it does suck to run out of a blood shard and have to go either AFK for hours and hours for a 1 in 1,000 drop, or high intensity pickpocketing when they're probably already 99 thieving. So there's been a lot of talk about different ways to get blood shards. And to be clear, I don't think anybody is arguing that blood shards should be easier to get, just something more interesting to get them from. And there's been a lot of, suggestions. I mean, a lot of people have said just add it as a rare drop from Tob. And I'm not opposed to that. It would be weird doing that, this late into the game. It would make more sense, in my opinion, doing it with something new, especially something from Mauritania that's a Grandmaster unlock. We've talked in the past about how it feels better, instead of changing the drop table of something, or adding it into the drop table, just having it added on to new content. So it doesn't feel like you got screwed. It just feels like you've done that content. Now you're moving on to this content. So it would be interesting to see like a more intense boss fight that's, 3 times harder than the way you get normal blood shards, but it's 3 times more likely to get it from, or you know what I mean. But that's been a big suggestion is an alternative way of getting blood shards, and similarly, vials of blood. So vials of blood are what you use to power up the scythe from Theater of Blood, and the only way to get it is from Theater of Blood. So you get people who have completely green logged it. They have 2,000 KC. They run out of vials on their scythe, and then they have to go do more Theater of Blood just to refill their scythe. I guess big asterisk. I'm talking about Iron Man with that, but so there's been a lot of talk about how that could be a quest reward from this is alternative ways of getting both of those things, because both of those things are, inherently very tied into Mauritania and to Darkmire and this quest. I mean, both of those things are unlocked from this quest line. So it would make sense. I think there's a lot of ways they can do it. I think it would be cool if they kind of swap places. So the blood shard is very AFK to get, and then they make a more engaging boss way of getting it. And then vials of blood, you have to do this really intense raid. So maybe there's a more AFK way of getting them. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways they could go about that, but those could be interesting rewards. They would also be kind of the most boring rewards because it's kind of what everybody's expecting. The more outside the box people, well, maybe not outside the box, but I've seen a lot of talk about Raids 4 coming out of this, which I think would be kind of ridiculous in the sense of, people keep saying top 2, but I don't know. I would be very disappointed if Raids 4 was also in Mauritania. It would be much cooler if it was, in a different area of the map. All the other raids kind of are emblematic of the area that they come in, and they're very thematic. And so it would feel disappointing if Raids 4 was just another Mauritania, another Theater of Blood, even though obviously that's, best raid, most fun raid, blah, blah, blah. And I would love for Raids 4 to take a ton of notes from Theater of Blood and be styled like it. And they did talk about Raids 4 a little bit, and I believe they said it will be that kind of style. That's great, but I just would rather it be in a completely different place than Mauritania.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems, it feels like Mauritania's been getting a bunch of stuff added to it. About Raids 4, they mentioned more to come on the Winter Summit, but we can expect it, I think, probably sometime in 2026, next year, which is pretty cool, but we'll have to wait till next winter to hear more about it. Pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it for, that pretty much wraps up all the announcements for Runefest. Anything that I missed that you wanted to?
No, I mean, there's, they have, some of their other stuff that's not, it's stuff that they've been talking about for a long time. There was a lot of announcements that were like, hey, this thing's still coming. And, on this podcast, it's like, this thing's been coming. We talk about it, and then they announce it again. It's like, and we talk about it again. And, it's, this stuff takes time to develop, and, we can talk about that stuff as it gets closer and as we see more information about it. But, overall thoughts, I'm super excited. I think that going back, just a little review, I can't believe they have a duo boss fight, that in-game duo boss fight that is the first like official content that's being released, and that was a complete surprise. Every Varlamore update has knocked it out of the park, and I think this one will as well. And I mean, I think Varlamore has been a massive success, and I'm expecting more of the same. Obviously, I went on and on about the summer sweep up. It's the smallest thing, but to me, it's the biggest thing. Sailing, that should be at the back of the list because there's no shot it comes out in autumn. But I'm trying to be optimistic. And then the Mauritania quest, Grandmaster quests make me nervous in some ways because they have Grandmaster rewards, and the in-game reward space is always a little scary. Power creep and all that. Same with, Yama. But I think they did a really good job with how they're formatting the Yama rewards. But yeah, I think it was a great summit, and I think almost everything on this roadmap besides Dead Man is something I'm excited for.
Very cool. And who knows, maybe we'll come around to Dead Man mode once we get closer. I do like I do like the
Winter's
tournaments
a long
for
way
it.
away.
I like having something to I don't know, something to spectate, I suppose. That's always pretty fun. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we take a break? I don't know why we're going to take a break. We're not going to do that Grand Exchange segment just because we've been running a little long, and let's just move on to I think at one point I called this the community chatter segment. I don't really know. We got a caller is what I'm trying to get at. We got someone who called in, and I'm going to play their message right now.
Yo, what's up, Dills, Trey? How you going? Jay Mizza here, calling all the way from Australia. Just wanted to shout out Trey for keeping the podcast going while Dills has been AFK. You're doing a great job, man. The longer episodes, I've been enjoying them. Gives me something to listen to at work. So, yeah, keep up the good work. Anyways, calling up after listening to the emergency podcast. You guys mentioned how Jagex may make it so all your accounts are under the same membership. Man, I think that'd be great if they did. I've really been itching to play my Iron lately, but I just can't bring myself to paying for 2 memberships. They should do that. That'd be great. It kind of got me thinking though. Back in the day, over here in Australia, I don't know if you guys had the same thing, but you could actually call up on your home phone, like your landline, and get membership. So you'd call the number on the website and get a code, and then you'd put it in and get your membership, and they'd add the cost to your phone bill, your parents' phone bill, $9 or $10 or something. But I remember begging my mum, I want to get membership for my game, rah, rah. She didn't know what the hell I was talking about, but yeah, she let me do it, and it was cool, but pretty funny. Keep up the good work, boys, and peace.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling in. I guess first things first. Mentions the having all your accounts bundled under one thing. I know for myself, with the increase in pricing, I'm only playing one account right now, but I have my main, and normally I would just kind of leave it idling with membership, and I would just kind of pay it, even if it's just for flipping or splitting people out, or for the odd PK or group activity. But I've canceled it now since, just because I can't justify paying for 2 accounts right now. So that's my first. Not feeling the price increase, but definitely I would love to be able to have multiple accounts going. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I mean, I've kept membership on my main, even though I literally I logged in today for less than 5 minutes just to take somebody's bingo payment. And that's about that, and scouting wilderness bosses is pretty much all I use it for. But it feels wrong to me to cancel that membership. And I always justify it by I play this game so much. Yeah. And so the amount of dollar per hour I play is very much in favor of this compared to something stupid like Disney Plus or something that I scroll on and can't find anything to watch, and I have to pay a monthly fee for that.
Yeah, it's true.
But no, yeah, I think but I think kind of what our caller was talking about is something they would see so much more of, which is say you paid 1.5 times what you're paying for one account and you got to play 2 accounts. So many more people would do that. And then they're making 1.5 times what those people are paying, but those people are also benefiting majorly from it. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I understand that it's kind of crazy that that's even a thing in this game. Most games you pay one price and you get unlimited accounts or multiple accounts or something, but it is what it is. That's kind of how they've always approached it.
Yeah.
But but yeah, that's I also agree with that sentiment.
Oh, you know what? So I'm cooking on my account right now. This is random. I'm in Catherberry. I'm cooking on my account. I just saw Bob and Niet Oh, they're like following each other around. That's so cute. I'm so excited for their future. I love stuff like that where people are just wandering around doing stuff. We need more stuff like that. Anyway, that was random. So let's go back to the other part of his message, which was calling, like dialing a phone number to pay for membership when you were younger. So you were homeschooled, and I can't remember. Did you play RuneScape as a kid? Did you get access to members?
Oh yeah. No, I was free to play. And it was like a self-imposed. Like I didn't think I deserved a membership.
Oh, interesting.
I think I wanted to have 40 in all of my skills before I felt like I wanted to kind of quote unquote max out free to play. Which was also partially because I didn't really have a way of getting membership. And I'd never heard of the phone thing. I think actually, I want to say you guys talked about it on your recent episode with Feel Good, because it feels like I've recently heard about that. But no, the way I finally got membership was he started selling preloaded cards at stores. And so, back in the day, $5 for a month of membership. And so I'd buy one of those cards and type the code in. And that's how I got membership for the first time. And my IRL friend said he gave me 1,001K GP if I met him at Gnome Stronghold.
Ooh.
And I ran through White Wolf Mountain. I ran through everything to get to Gnome Stronghold. I was so excited. And then I never got the money. It would have changed my account though.
Yeah, changed it forever. That's funny. Yeah, the first time I got membership was my mom had to like mail a check, which is kind of crazy because I live in Canada. So like mailing a check to the UK, you hope it gets to the right person. And like I remember, but then I didn't have internet at my mom's. My parents were divorced, so my dad had internet though. So every other weekend I would go visit. So I either had to play at the library or go to my dad's. So then I would always just go to, do I have membership yet? Did it go in? And then I remember when it finally did. Oh, that was awesome. Good times. But yeah, it's times have changed. Times have changed for sure. Thanks so much for calling in. And if anyone else wants to call in, let us know what you think about Runefest. What did you like? What did you hate? What was your favorite? We'll have a speak pipe link. You can call in. But you can also leave us a message on Discord itself, discord.gg/wilderness, not the wilderness. It used to be that, but then someone stole it. So don't join the wilderness. It's a Rust server. It's a Rust server. You don't want to go there. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there, but I'm in there. I'm watching it because I'm going to take that back. I'm going to friggin' take it back. So anyways, it's just wilderness. Discord.gg/wilderness. We got bingo coming up. So we'll put the sign up info in the description. Oh my God, I was supposed to do a Feel Goods episode. I think I forgot. I'm going to go back and do that. So
I'll remind you.
Yeah, we gotta email TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. Trey, any final closing thoughts before we jet?
Sign up for bingo. This is kind of our Runefest of bingo because it's been a long time since we've put one on, and so it's the coming back one. It's going to be a great one. We are fully into the planning. The board's almost finalized, and we've had a ton of signups. And it's going to be great. We're going to do a live draft of the teams with me and Dills commentating on it. So that's going to be really fun.
Cool.
And just like I always say, hop in the clan, hop in the Discord.
Oh, the clan's Wild. WILD. Oh, yes. Join that.
Yes.
Yeah, we do fun events and all that sort of stuff. And Trey, you'll do some movie and game nights on Thursdays at times. So lots of fun to be had. Mm-hmm. So join in and have some fun. And I guess that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week. Trey, I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. We're gonna do a smash or pass bossing edition. So we're gonna go through every single boss, and we're not gonna get into anything weird. We're gonna do a smash or pass, see what bosses we would or wouldn't have sex with. But it's gonna be fun.
Literal smash. Like, would you smash it with a hammer or would you not?
Right. Okay. No sex involved. Look at that. It is going to be PG-13. It's going to be fun.
Now announcing our Wilderness Podcast After Dark show, where we do talk about which ones we would like to have sex with.
And we have the new Smellometer or whatever. Like we have this new program. You sign up to Patreon. We send you a little can of the smell of that room. It's pretty good.
Oh no,
it's pretty good. A little bit of seasoning. No, yeah, no, that's that part's not happening.
I hope not.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess we'll catch you guys on the next episode.